Hi friends, looky here, look who it is, it's me, host Eric. Remember me from such YouTube channels as Talking with Famous People? Anyway, I'm often known as, or you may know me better, I guess, you could say, as the prettiest man on YouTube. That's what most people probably know me as. I'm kind of famous for being the prettiest man on YouTube. But you might also know me as Captain Sexy, leader of the Sexy Squad. I'm sometimes known as that. Some people call me that. You might know me as the Lord of Sensuality, because I'm so deeply sensual. The reason that we got that thumbnail, of course, is because I still have open in the GIMP app the picture that I'm using to make thumbs for the AGA clips, right? So I snapped a picture of me, as I sometimes do beforehand, to go make a thumb with it. When I got to the photo app, August's picture was already there, waiting for when I had made the thumbs from the clips, right? So I just put my face on numbers. And I just finished that premiere, which Boba Fett and a couple other people were talking about how August was pretty. So I was like, well, now I'm pretty. That makes me pretty, you know. I mean, obviously, if you're gonna think she's pretty, then if I just put my face on her head, you're gonna think I'm pretty too, right? Because it must be her hair, I'm guessing. Anyhow. So yeah, I guess probably a lot of you looking at that picture, you have feelings you've not felt before. Feelings of interest and lust that are unfamiliar and scary, a little bit scary. It's kind of like hitting puberty again for the first time. Seeing that picture. Yeah. I've been known to drive entire continents mad with lust as soon as I stepped off the plane. Just the whole continent falls into chaos. That's what happened to the formerly existing continent of called that island that sunk under the ocean, Atlantis. It was a continent originally, and then I went there. As soon as I stepped off the boat, it was a boat at the time, you know. The whole continent's worth of people started rushing towards me, saying, "We want to hump you. We want to hump you. We want to hump you." And so I quickly got back on the boat and sailed away. But she doesn't want to be young. She's camera shy, I guess, huh? Are you camera shy, Capillo? There. Be less camera shy, though. Everybody wants to see you. Yeah, I was responsible for the destruction of Wakanda as well. I went there and they said, "Welcome to Wakanda." And then all of a sudden they said, "Oh my God, you're so pretty." And then they all started chasing me and saying, "We're going to hump you. We're going to hump you." And so I had to get back on my spaceship and fly away, you know. Thank you very much. CJ has got me thinking about imitations a little bit. I appreciate the value of having a couple of good imitations in your repertoire. It enables lots of joke making, you know. She's from jolly old England. I was explaining to people in one of those premieres, Olga, that You probably moved there to solve the light bulb issue. Because obviously being Polish means if you stay in Poland, then the attainment of light bulb screwing in is nearly impossible. Whereas in England, it always only requires just you and one other person to screw in a light bulb, since the other person is going to be English, you know. But Fly Guy posited that perhaps you just sidestepped the issue by lighting candles, and it wasn't really clear if the Polish light bulb screwing in problem links to candle lighting or not. Is it a general illumination issue with you people? Are Polish people aware in Poland that the rest of the world, meaning America, thinks that they have a lot of difficulty screwing in light bulbs? Are you able to go like this? Is that the issue? No, I didn't say the breast of the world. The breast of the world is known as Mount Everest. That's the breast of the world. And it's a cold, bitter place. Unlike a real breast. Yeah. I do that a lot. I just typically do characters that aren't exactly imitations of anybody specific. I've got like my New York guy voice. Aren't the light bulb jokes alluding to all the people that died in the famine? Are they? I mean, what is a light... it's like asking a polar person about their polar. It confuses them. If you ask a polar person about light bulbs, they just become instantly baffled. It's the whole country. What would a light bulb have to do with a famine? Doesn't make any sense. It's somewhere back in their ancestral history. One of their relatives would evolved a little bit, but evolved so that they lost the ability to go like this, and then that became predominant in the genome, and so Polish people are really just an evolved form of superhuman. They're designed for an era beyond light bulbs, where everything that needs to be illuminated simply glows of its own accord as per needed. Nobody does, CJ. That's the important thing. That's how you know it's a truly effective joke. You have really managed to surf the curve when you tell a joke that's the most hilarious joke in the world, but nobody gets it yet. But 10 years from now, they'll start laughing. That's when you know you've accomplished history's greatest joke. The thing is, who needs artificial illumination anyway? Isn't that what the sun's for? I think it is. It's what the sun's for. Aren't you supposed to go to bed when the sun goes down? Yeah. Why do you keep trying to defy nature's will? Nature wants you to go to bed when the sun goes down, so just go to bed when the sun goes down, alright? Just obey nature. It's your mother. That's why they call it Mother Nature. When you make up standards on the go, I suppose it's a contextual joke. Very subtle, or maybe not. I like that. very enigmatic. What we want to do is work towards a use of language that's so enigmatic, everyone's always mostly confused. Wait, did you mean something with that? Does anyone ever really mean anything? Was that a question? Exactly. That's a conversation of the future, when all meaning has been stripped from from the language, you know, and it's just FETE stuff. So there's people barking orders at each other, and then FINE tiptoeing around. Ah, joke's on you, TWP. I was your enemy all along. Behold. Yeah, well, like I said, it was rather like watching somebody sneak up on you and go, okay, so this guy obviously is not aware that I see him somehow, even though I'm looking right at him, and he keeps sneaking up and hiding behind a pole, and like, do you think you're invisible or something? It's just really strange to watch somebody sneaking up on you. It's almost oxymoronic, you know. The fact that you're watching it means they're not successfully sneaking, and it didn't seem like it was particularly. It wasn't like I particularly took any bait. And the thing is, he was around for a long ass time before I even looked at his videos ever, you know. So it's an interesting claim to make, you know. Well, apparently, CJ, Clubbing's big reveal was that he, I guess, you know, had never liked me at all. He was always being fake nice so that he could trap me in this trap, and then reveals like gotcha me or something. But it's not. It wouldn't really be clear what the gotcha would be. Except maybe if he were to have convinced me he was an ENTP, but it didn't work like that, you know. So at that point, you kind of got to give up on the notion of having a big reveal, right? If it gotcha at the end, because it's kind of predicated on there actually being something gotcha, you know. The reveal felt more like a preview to reveal. Oh yeah, someone was asking what your type is. You only think you got the better of me because before you started, I set up this thing back here that you're not aware of. It's like an anime written by INTJs. Are you a Taurus like me? Are you a Ford Taurus? I'm a Taurus. April's split in half. They want to know your astrology sign. That's what your sun was, and I was just like, that's your sun? I mean, you have to live in a different solar system, obviously, to have a different sun. It's soul, you know. And then somebody clarified, no, they mean your sun sign, which is your like main astrology sign or something. I'm Taurus. You have a different sun? Is that why you're always so sunburned? Well, it's more like a kid turning around after you school them and then saying, "This is the middle. You schooling me right here, or thinking you schooled me, is all part of my larger plan." You know, which is kind of silly. But I mean, the problem with it is, I guess, there seems to be implicit in it a failure to reckon with how the meanings play out. You know, because did I block him? I don't think so. I might have. I don't think I did. I don't remember doing it. Binary sunset. What are we not understanding? Okay, now we're all confused. Everybody's confused. Psyduck must be hanging out with us, and must be hiding under the cat or something. Psyduck's here confusing us. Well, look. Okay, my Chinese astrology is pig. That's why I'm baby pig poop face. But my, I guess, America astrology is Taurus. Is that what you call regular astrology? America astrology? Everything regular is America, okay? And things that are not America are irregular. You're a fire rat, huh? Rachel's a rat. She's a rat, who's on her back. She's gone to bed, to sleep in bread. She is a rat who's on her back, and she's sleeping in bread. Oh, Q's was to be to the @sub, because quite a few men contacted me, and some asked DOB, etc. Oh, well, I know it was, but I'm assuming it's a carryover from the premiere that you weren't here for, Aga, where some people were asking what your astrology type was, and I initially said, I don't remember what it was she said, if she said something, and then I thought about it more, and I said, I'm pretty sure she didn't say it at any point, because the way it was asked, it made it sound like you had said and they had missed it or something, and so then I was like, okay, thinking about it more, I'm pretty sure she never told me. And so then when they asked that question here, I assumed it was a continuation of the previous conversation from the premiere, and that's why I said that. But it could be totally unrelated. I don't remember if that guy Subvid3 was here or not during the premiere. I don't remember if he was one of the people who asked that question or not. The thing is, what people should remember about Aga is she is an ENTP. So if you're not an INFJ, just don't bug her, because it's not going to work out anyway, and she's FI stupid enough to maybe fall for your shit. You know, it's just like, boy, I guess it is the case, huh, Arya? Quite a few men contact you. It is the case that if you are an attractive young woman and you're on the internet, it's like hanging red meat out there or something. It's ridiculous. Like, my daughter is so much more meh than Aga of that shit, because she's 23 and she's an ESTP, and like, if you listen to Delilah and I talk, it's quite different than listening to me and Aga talk. Me and Aga are like on the same page about, well, like she said at some point during the entire conversation, we're both actively, consciously telling ourselves to hush and listen so that we give the other person space to talk, right? Whereas it doesn't really work like that with Delilah. Not as much, I guess you'd say. And Delilah's like Aga keeps the harsh parts of sifting through suitors and assorted like extra energy that builds when someone's an attractive young female, right? She deals with the harsh parts of that like behind the scenes, presumably. Whereas Delilah is somewhat harsh, right in her initial affect. If you cross any kind of line at all, PB is not freaking out. PB's way over there. That's a lot further away than it looks. Okay, it looks pretty close, but it's a full arm's length away. See, she's pretty far away. Let's get sheared. Let's get shaved. The thing is, I don't like getting shaved. Shaving it causes a general sense of I'm lacking now hair that should be there, you know? And a sense that it's itchy, maybe, depending where you shave. Like, I guess if you shave your face regularly, it's not really like that. But, like, anytime, like, I've shaved my junk, it's just been like, okay, that's itchy now and annoying, and now it's just like stubble. Forget it. Forget it. There's no way that that's going to sustain as a behavior in a relationship past like a week or something. Well, I do have a lot of pubes, but they're long, straight blonde hairs. In fact, the thumbnail of this video is actually what I did is I took a picture of my pubes, and then I took a picture of my face and put my face in among my pubes. That's what my hair looks like. My pube hair. So it's a little different than most people's pubes. I've had a lot of guys braid it and try to climb up it into my tower. And I say, hey, I know I'm the prettiest man on YouTube, but that's not okay. Let's butt heads. Butting heads should refer to the process of one person pushing their head against another person's butt. That'd be a more appropriate meaning, I think. Because otherwise, why is the butt involved in this head-to-head smash, right? Shouldn't they call it heading? Or head-heading? Why head-butting? There's no good reason. Not a good enough reason to justify calling it that anyway. Not nearly good enough. No. Some people found me on different platforms, tried arranging meetings and stuff. I said no. They kept going. I said block. Yeah. You're like, why do you have to make me feel cringe enough so that you can't be like graceful or whatever? So I can't be graceful because you're so cringe. You're not getting any kind of subtle meows or whatever. Eric ate 4 grams of shrooms and now I see what appears to be an alien life force. Any tips for you? Make love to it. Make gentle, sweet love to it for long, long hours. Till finally, in a crescendo of moans, the two of you arrive at your sexual destination together. That's what I recommend. Okay? Do that. Whatever the alien is, make sure that when you make love to it, it's sweet, gentle, and motivated by a true affection for the alien life form, and not just by your totally point anywhereable lust. I do. I give the best advice. So this lady that I typed the other week, she's probably right that she's an INTJ instead of an ESTP, or else she probably wouldn't have sent me this silly email she sent me. In which she basically said, I think you're wrong. If you want to check me again, and you can check your tests at the same time or whatever, and you can publish it. And I'm like, no thanks. No thanks, but thanks for the offer. But I appreciate the offer, I said. It's just like, ooh boy. A chance to work for free? And fix my previous mistake? Well, I mean, I do make mistakes, but people don't pay me to, I don't guarantee to get somebody right. You know, I have no such guarantee. There are times when I get people wrong, and if I go and do a redo of them, then I might conclude that I got them wrong, but it's like there's a certain sort of FE that's required to get me to take on that task as sort of an extra bit of good customer service or something. The only way you're gonna get that from me is with FE, not with TE. Here, this could benefit you. Don't give me that shit. No, thank you. You know? Biggest trial readings are hard on cash at the moment. You can pay me in mushrooms. Be glad to take that. Hey, Brandon, FE's largest penis is here with us tonight, Abraham Rincon. Eat, sleep, rave, repeat, motherfucker. That's how we roll around here. Actually, no, I don't know anything about that. Forgot. Are you talking about that new hit club single, Windy Whippets? Because I'm curious about who made that as well. Some mysterious people came and sent me an email. And it said, you can publish this if you want. Anonymous. So who could these people be? And they've got masks on, so it's impossible to tell who they are. But they call themselves Windy Whippets and Baby Pig Poop Face. Apparently they're a rapper couple. A rapping couple. Which is kind of an unusual... I don't want to make... Okay, but you're from Brooklyn. That's the wrong side of the country. You gotta live in Los Angeles. I keep telling everybody this. You mean Guy Suit? Guy Suit is not a wedding cake guy. He's a pilot from an airline of some sort. Apparently, because he's got little wings on his suit, if you look carefully. I should not make prank videos. I don't like prank videos. That's way too SE. First of all, I don't like the idea of roping people into my art without their consent or knowledge in general. It doesn't mean that I don't support the right to film in public and the principle that people have no reasonable expectation of privacy in public. It just means that I don't want to ever be guilty of Sacha Baron Cohening somebody. I find that appalling. A repatriatization of you into your mother's womb. We're going to repatriate Davy from Brooklyn into his mother's womb. Call your mom, Davy. Tell her to get some hot water, some towels, and get ready to spread wide. I really hate that shit. What I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna elicit the most ridiculous aspects of this other party by forcing an by forcing a expectation disrupting reality on them. It's just so not cool. I mean, I guess I think this is what it looks. This is what 8th slot SE looks like. I really don't like. I think SE is the source of evil in the world, basically, and it boils down to that point, right? Which is SE is how you end discussion, and somebody has a reality forced upon them from one perspective, you know? So I think that probably both ENTPs and ENFPs alike will find both too much regular action and or too little talking action to be like the source of evil in the world. It's what basically freaked me out when Peter Dentici, when I had this big freak out at Peter Dentici because he came into this conversation, presented a piece of information that was factually true, and then tried to prevent me from using that information to ideate out possibilities and to discuss possibilities. And his explanation, just like yesterday, that finally he left a comment for a long time after it happened. So it took him a long time to decide on this comment and put it down. But it totally made perfectly good sense, which is he was concerned that I was going to use his information to generate some wrong conclusion and then blame him for having provided that information, which is of course insane, right? But at least I understand what was going on there in a way that I didn't before, you know. Of course I would never, that to be an ENTP means that never happens. I never blame you for providing me with information that I then do something with and overreach with or something, unless there seemed to be some kind of intentional attempt by you to provide me just this bit of the information so as to provoke some kind of incorrect response because you omitted key details or something. But even then, it probably isn't going to catch me. I'm not going to respond to things that you omitted. I'm not going to make overreach with my NI. Right, you felt sorry for the clowns being kicked and stuff? Oh yeah, SE humor is terrible. Oh, that stuff, yeah. I don't like it either. I don't like it one bit. It makes me want to cross my arms in a judgy fashion, like this. I say, what barbarity is this? Extroverted sensing. How vulgar. It's not that. It's like Three Stooges. Sometimes it's good. Like, there are some good instances of it. Like, here's an example of an SE joke. There's this movie called like summer camp movie, funny movie. I forget what it's called actually, but it's one of those kind of things. It's actually really good and really funny. And there's one scene where like somebody trips and starts rolling down a hill, and then just like keeps on rolling down the hill. And this hill is to be like incredibly long, and they just keep rolling and rolling. Yeah, Wet Hot American Summer. That's the one. There you go. Yeah, that joke played out great. That's a hilarious joke. And an equivalent joke is in Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, where Steve Martin makes his patented cup of Joe, where he takes this bag of coffee, like a Starbucks size kind of bag of coffee, and he goes like this, and like this, and like this, and the coffee just keeps on pouring out and pouring out, and it's shaking and it keeps pouring out. So it's like those are SE jokes. Yeah, my daughter's an ESTP, and yeah, we do have some ESTPs around here. Smart people, you know. I too at one point underestimated them, which is why I typed my own daughter as ENTP before I met an actual chick ENTP, and then it was immediately obvious. Oh shit, my daughter's not one. My daughter's ESTP, and I was just underestimating ESTPs, you know. Imagine all the people feeling their feelings. Can't you see I'm triggered? So everybody must shut up. I hope someday you'll join us in feeling-based totalitarianism. The totalitarian FI state. Like just these emotion police who go around and really kindly explain to you how, hey, not cool, before they haul you off to the gulag. Bro, hey, we don't act like that around here. Courtney's making it really obvious that this pressure you're putting on with these words is making her uncomfortable. Now go on, Courtney. Say what you were saying again about how important it is we respect safe spaces. That's not respecting safe space. I was just gonna ask if it's safe for me. Yes, it's safe for everybody, because you're not allowed to talk. That makes everybody else safe, okay? So shut your fucking mouth and listen. Oh, my bad. I do feel remarkably safe now. Now that I'm silent and ashamed of myself. I feel very safe. Davey from Brooklyn wisely observes, Eric, you're pretty funny. You should start a YouTube channel. You know what? I might do that someday. I don't like gross out humor either. I also really don't like effie cringe humor. Like somebody embarrassing themselves and we're supposed to laugh at it, right? That makes me feel super cringe. Makes me want to like run out of the room. I'm out over there. Why, you need some? You want to come by my house? Swing by if you want. I don't like seeing old people get hurt. Unless it's Bill Walton. No, I don't really want Bill Walton to get hurt. Nobody does. Everybody loves Bill Walton. He's wonderful. He's just terrible at his job. He's probably okay at his dog, but he's terrible at his job. You know, it's weird, Abraham. Man, like which company makes your pills? Seems to make a big difference. Like these pink ones I got this time were freaking wicked strong. Like, isn't it supposed to be exactly the same thing? It's not. Depending on whether they're the orange ones, the white ones, or the pink ones. I always get generic, but these pink ones are like. I used to take it, not no more. Because it made you a stupid whore? Is that the completion of your rhyme? I mean, I agree that stuff was ultra clean and poppy. I agree with you about that. It's clean and poppy, but whereas like this stuff is edgy. But I mean, it's amazing how it keeps me awake for just meows. Yeah, $500 a bottle for brand name is ridiculous. Absolutely fucking ridiculous. You know, I paid 20, and this is the cheapest it's ever been too for these pink ones. For $26 for 60 of them. That's cheap. You know, he could, Davey. He could get the generics too. He chooses the when he was rolling in dough anyway. You're like, but you know, sometimes when you work in a lot and you're rolling in dough, you're like, well. But he could get the generics too. The name brands aren't that much better. Not that much better. Come on. Does it still say what, Mrs. Mom? Did I ever fix that? I never fixed that, huh? Let me see if I can fix that right now. I saw that the last time you mentioned it, and I realized, oh, well, you know what where that meows is. What's nice about that is it's only a problem here in the live stream because this thing retains the previous settings. So now that I've changed it once, it won't ever be a problem again. There. Oh, you and you're retaining the previous settings. What are you doing? You know we're going to want new settings this time. I'm going to have to change the title. And you retaining the previous one just makes it more likely they're going to forget to fix something, you know? It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be the exact same thing, Karma's Pep. According to any doctor you ask, any pharmacist or whatever, there's no scientific, logical reason at all why I should be reporting what I'm reporting. That makes no sense. That in fact it's exactly the same chemical structure, molecule, or whatever, and in exactly the same quantities. It just looks different. But that's just not my experience, you know? Oh yeah, it helps you focus. Of course it does. And do you remember the time you tried to write the book? I did that. Yeah. If that's stored in words. Yeah, I liked it a lot, actually. I watched that video the other day. just the other day. Let's see if I can find it. Not that window, Eric, you silly boy. You have to go into this window. Don't be a silly boy. Be a serious boy. Okay, Eric, I'll be a serious boy. Good. You're finally beginning to listen to me. Your biggest problem, Eric, is that you don't listen to serious Eric. I don't? Not nearly enough, no. Are you sure I don't? Pretty sure. Relatively sure. As sure as I can be without being certain. Yeah. Let's see. Let's take a look at this Holy Bible. This is the one true, actual, real Holy Bible, according to Eric. Let's take a look at what it says. Why did I put it behind the... Oh, the full text is in the description. That's nice. Oh, and the documents, right? There's a link to the document even, too. Copy, link address. And, I will. It's not, no, the whole text isn't in the description. It's just a link to that document. So here's a link to that document. And we can discuss it one verse at a time, just like Bible study, okay? Oh, for fark's sake. Okay, so. Now, let me pull this up here into LOBS, or l'OBS, as they say in French. L'OBS, quelle est utile? Oh, l'OBS. Would you like some cheese, Romain? French people are famous for saying that, you know. It's like their most famous saying. Okay, here we go. So, first verse, God existed and currently observed that he existed somewhere. Hence, the heavens collapsed from superposition, concurrent with God's being collapsing from superposition. Obviously, it has to be that way. But one illogical reality we have to accept is that God could observe his own being into existence. Number two, God observed that he was not alone. He had Lucifer and Michael as his brothers. The latter had a very cool fiery sword. Number three, God observed that he could make lesser beings, but having selfish third slot NE. God determined that the most developed of these lesser beings would basically look just like him. In other words, what do we learn from this? God was a ESTJ. This is the corrected Eric's Holy Bible. To make Christianity correct. Upon observing the top lesser being would be like God, just stripped of their power to manifest exclusively by observation, God unavoidably observed the being he created into a field of space-time. His first such observed being, this is something people don't realize, died horribly in the vacuum of space. Finally, God realized that without the superpowers of these new beings, humans could only persist within a small range of temperature and needed water and other stuff like that. So then he observed the Garden of Eden. And after this, just after this, Lucifer copied him because he was like, "You're just doing this dumb." And he started making his own people better, he thought. Anyway, there was some disagreement about that. Whom he let loose in the land of Nod. And this explains, of course, why there were people in the land of Nod when Adam and Eve got out of the Garden of Eden. So 8, God determined that he knew what good living looked like. He knew that humans didn't. So God made them a perfect garden and kept the ethical calculus very simple. Just obey. Just obey. That was the calculus. Good guy, God, but an ESTJ, not particularly imaginative out the gate. Okay, so, Michael recognized the primacy of God. He was respectful to his Nichon, unlike that nasty old Lucifer. Lucifer wasn't so much invested in the well-being of his creations. He was more like a naturalist observing bird behavior. One day he was bored, number 10, so he decided to get all up into business of God's garden, and in particular, the business of God's two faves, Adam and Eve. Lucifer had already observed that God had created two SFPs. Thus, Lucifer knew that the urge to disobey could be encouraged, and the ESFP Eve was especially prone to bad decision-making. So 11, Lucifer helps God overcome God's frame walk by releasing God's pets. Lucifer sells Eve on the wisdom of apple consumption. Number 12, God and Michael are pissed. They team up to observe the shittiest place they can think of, which is hell. And then combining their observational powers, they overwhelmed Lucifer's observation of himself. But poor Lucifer found himself renamed Satan and relegated to a very uninviting region of space-time. Verse 13. Time passed. God tried to get back on top of things, but he was like a classroom teacher who didn't run the class right until the middle of the year. There was just no salvaging the kids' respect. Number 14. God played bigger hammer theory for a while. He kept thinking, well, I guess I just need to punish them more. They're bound to get the message eventually. After the flood, Michael went to visit Satan in hell. Bro, God's got it out of control. He needs to accept the things he cannot change and have the courage to change the things he can, and most importantly, the wisdom to know the difference. He totally just killed like almost everybody. And Satan said, oh God, he's always been like that. Because he has. He's always been like that. But it doesn't mean he doesn't grow. He does, obviously. Otherwise, if he didn't grow, he'd be inferior to humans. So, he's always been like that. He's got to be either Fi polar or Ti polar or Ni polar. Otherwise, there's no way he'd be so brutal and justify his behavior with such flimsy reasoning. Because Satan wasn't really as knowledgeable about typology as I am, but so he wasn't really sure. But I can tell. So they brainstorm and conclude that God will never get it until he has people who are precious to him. So they cook up a wonderful caper. This is important, everybody. I want you to all please apply the requisite solemnity to listening to this. Okay. Satan and Michael waited for a while for the earth to repopulate after the flood. Once people started filling up towns again, Lucifer returned to his puss-slaying ways. One chick he hooked up with fairly often was this lady named Helen. Helen was 34, but she fucked like she was 24. And Satan knew that God was really insecure about women. There was no way Satan was going to risk hooking up God with Helen because she was such a slut and that would scare God. But Helen had a younger sister named Mary who was still a virgin. So, 18. Michael asked God to meet him at the hookah shop in Armenia because he had just scored some sweet hash. God was like, is it real hash or that shitty leaf stuff? And I was like, no, it's a shit, bro, I promise. As God is chilling, number 19, and smoking hash with Michael, the prearranged waitress is none other than the Virgin Mary. God is smitten, but still scared. Late that night, in order to avoid the vulnerability of being nude in front of a woman, he uses his magic powers to place his man seed inside her uterus while she was sleeping. Verse 20 of the one true Holy Bible. Holy, Eric, not hold Bible. Holy. The one true holy Bible, okay? It's going to be the one true holy Bible of the Christian religion. Verse 20. Once Jesus was born, God realized, shit, I've been such a dick this whole time. But at first he was conflicted. I don't like, he thought, how my empathy has grown with the arrival of this child. I can't seem to kill it, but I don't want it. And so God told someone to put the baby in a basket and float it down the river. That way God could just pretend that Jesus had gone to live on a farm. Okay, so anyway, let's continue with our important discussion. Well, fortunately, someone's like, hey, what's this baby doing floating down the river? No. Some people may mistakenly believe this story to be linked to Noah, but that's just one of the mistakes they made in the original Bible. There's actually Jesus, I guess, apparently. I don't remember the inspiration that caused me to write this. I can just assume it was right. Anyway, verse 22. Anyway, after studying carpentry for a while, Jesus grew up. At that point, he began a long series of difficult but productive conversations with both his dads. Yes, it was one of those kind of deals. Mary eventually left to live with her sister once it became obvious that Joseph and God both paid a lot more attention to each other than to Mary. Number 23 of the verses. Jesus finally gets God to grow up. God realizes that locust plagues are just an anger management problem, so he creates rainbows to show us that he's turning over a new leaf. Verse 24. Then Jesus explains to everybody, look, my dad, Cy, he's an ESTJ, okay? That's just how he is, but I have done all the narrative to help him grow into a truly correct moral arbiter. What's the foundation of such attainment? Why, forgiveness, of course. 24a. And so to concretize this notion, and to make sure all you SI people get it too, have my home's Judas here betray me to the Romans, who will then kill me in an agonizingly slow fashion. Just wait, I know it sounds bad, but hold on. So here's the kicker. I'll forgive Judas, you forgive the Romans, and then God will feel like he has to forgive me for pulling this con, because he doesn't want to get out morality by his own creations. Thus he'll raise me from the dead and accept in lieu of your own just suffering proportional to your sins, my unjust suffering. And then, verse 25, remember everybody, God loves you and wants you to be happy. Don't accidentally mistake words for things in themselves, except insofar as you're making points about logical or grammatical construction. Verse 26, be nice to each other, respect negative moral prohibitions, and seek through communication with the Almighty guidance regarding positive moral indications, and shit on all the other religions gently if you can, because while they are wrong, you can't really win the argument. Bill of Commands. Number 1, don't lose your identity to your habits. Unsustainable addiction is bad. Number 2, you're required to apply a moral calculus that universalizes when evaluating prospective action, not expression, that directly impacts others. In other words, respect negative rights of others and be subject to forfeit some of your own rights as a possession of rights is contingent on the reciprocal burden. Bill of Commands 3. You will never correctly universalize a positive moral indication, so don't try. Number 4. Impacts must be measured by those who oppose a prospective action whenever that action is discretionary enough that it can be resolved wholly through negative calculi. Commandment 5. Command law 5. Hubris is evil and is defined as embracing a heuristic that presumes humans can meaningfully predict outcomes in a complex multivariate system. Utilitarianism never justifies that which doesn't pass negative scrutiny. Negative adversarial scrutiny. Adversarial negative scrutiny. Adversarial scrutiny. Just put adversarial scrutiny. It doesn't sustain against adversarial scrutiny. This is the Bible, it should be right. It's adversarial critique. No extra Q, motherfucker. Don't extra Q me, bitch. That's my keyboard I'm yelling at, by the way, in case you don't know who I'm directing those comments to. My keyboard is misbehaving. Remember, Command 6. Remember that individuals best know what's best for themselves. The urge to control others for their own good is almost always, but not always, wickedness and helpful clothing. Commandment 7. If you can't say words that sustain argumentational scrutiny, then your position is true for you only and should not be stated aloud as a claim. Commandment 8. Don't lie and deceive, even when it seems like other moral factors excuse you from doing so in this instance. Lying and dishonesty always come back to bite you in the ass. Commandment 9. Don't treat people you have sex with like objects, except during the sex, if that's fun for both people. And always uphold fidelity when such is the agreement. You have an obligation to break up in the right way and with the right justifications. That means don't be looking at other chicks or dudes until after your miserable failure of a relationship actually falls apart. And don't start humping other people until you are fully broken up. Commandment 10. People grow. Also, people experience trauma. Also, people are varying degrees of smart to stupid. So don't give up on anyone too quickly. Some people get there by making lots of mistakes and learning from them. Commandment 11. Shame and judge angrily any person who claims their ideology has primacy over free expression. The reason we have a conditional as well as causal reality is so that our words prevent incredibly oppressive protocols from being normalized. Burqa laws and honor killings are what happens when the sacred trumps the individual's freedom of conscience. 11a. As an unintentional but too obvious not to mention consequence of 11, we can conclude that the current expression of mainstream Islam is thoroughly wicked and toxic and should be opposed by all right-thinking people. Commandment 12. Don't fuck up the environment too much. Animals have no rights, but humans have a duty to consider an animal's experience as valid and validating on an independent metric, and humans should behave accordingly. Avoid killing things except for food or for other significant reasons, and when possible, after deliberation. Kill in a way that minimizes suffering and preserve the long-term well-being of populations. This is the one true holy Bible of the Christian religion. This is the book of Jesus, the missing book of Jesus. All the other books were written by dudes like John and Mark and Paul and stuff. But this is the actual. I think Jesus wrote this. I'm pretty sure. I don't know that for sure. Somebody else might have written it, but it's probably Jesus who wrote it, I guess. I might have channeled Jesus when I was writing it. I'm not sure. No. I was channeling Jesus again. He was correcting the document through me. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Well, right, they're wicked. Yes, they are wicked, and they fail to uphold as moral under the one true holy Bible of the Christian religion, which is, of course, the core moral document of Western civilization. I just read you the entirety of the document upon which all of Western morality is predicated. And it's not that long. It's surprising. You'd think it would be longer. It's surprisingly cogent, too. It's like, wow, this guy's making a lot of sense. Who wrote this shit? Nobody really knows, you know. They found it long ago, I guess. In some cave in Google Docs. Oh, what is this? Oh, that's a Google Docs file extension. We found this Google Docs file extension in an old clay pot buried near Jerusalem. It included, chiseled into copper to rolled up copper was the URL for the share link to the Google Doc. So, it had a downloadable, basically a PDF file, but it was actually a PDF file, but it had been converted from Google Docs into PDF by Google Docs, so it retained a lot of that information. Anyway, and then a link to the public share of it. How they, it's like, if that doesn't prove God's real, I don't know what is, because that that copper scroll was buried sometime around 12 BC, between 12 and 85 BC. I mean, AD, just after Christ's death. Somewhere, they carbon dated it that precisely. It's between 12 and 85 AD, and that's right in that very narrow window when Christ died. So, well, not the I mean, obviously, the first edition was a mess. Obviously, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about the first edition. We're talking about the one that supplanted what's now known as the one true Holy Bible, which is what I just read out loud. That is responsible for all of Western morality. Retroactively. It works retroactively. So that's one of the cool things about Google Docs is people don't realize this is the truths they express will work retroactively. Everybody published the part where we talked about being so impatient. That was fun too. Yeah, well, like I said before in the premiere, at the end of the premiere, people were like, "Upload another one. Or, I want more of this." And I said, "Yeah, okay, I got another one in the can. Actually, I could upload it. It's a short one. That's not really premierable, but." And then that segued rapidly into live stream, and so I said, "You know what? I will live stream instead, and I'll save some audio for tomorrow. I'll cut more chunks of it out. I like it. It's good content. It gets good views. It makes good thumbnails. I hate to be exploitative, but it makes good thumbnails." It may generate more instances of you having to block people and stuff, but it's like I'm not unwilling to even say that to my own daughter. Like, hey, don't be afraid to show a little cleavage. You can make a really great thumbnail here. It's just how it is. You get a pretty girl on your thumbnail, you get like twice the views or anything else. There's no point in living in a pretend reality where one doesn't acknowledge that. Of course, you got to have that person featured pretty prominently, or else then they really feel like they got clickbaited. They go, "I clicked for this pretty girl, I get this ugly old man. What?" That's just life in the big city. So, well, sometimes you get a little bit of both. Sometimes you do. Of course, that's the power of being ultra intuitive and 8th slot SE is that it's very safe for women to talk to me, right? Because it's very obvious that I'm in a long-term relationship that I'm completely committed to, that there's no like flirting going on or whatever, and that's one of the incredible benefits of attaining this kind of clear demarcating barrier between whether I'm, this is why I hate being in a state of dating, because then that, like, once my affect is confused, I don't know how to, I'm not nearly practiced at all at conveying, like, I'm open for business in that regard, and so it's always like super weird when I'm single, because I'm trying to sometimes I kind of want to convey that, but I don't really know how to do it without messing up my whole game plan, right? Which is kind of get in a relationship, put to bed those issues completely so that you don't have to pay any more attention to them, because they're a big challenge and time consuming. And so And so it's like every people can generally tell. Most people can most of the time, just from how a person is, sort of whether they can trust them in different areas, kind of, you know. So if you want to have the opportunity to actually, and this is something I learned early on in life as part of internalizing that I just was never really going to be attracted to women or something, was that if I wanted to have women involved in my life at all, then I was going to make sure that all the women I encountered knew that I wasn't going to be like I try to convey without saying that I wasn't going to make them uncomfortable. And you know, it ultimately is rewarding because you get to have, you know, people in your life instead of just who wants to be Jordan Peterson, where he's got 80% of his audience being men. What are all these men doing here, like looking lovingly at me for? But it feels like that's kind of like how the Jordan Peterson audience engages with him. Like, well, somebody said the other night he's like a father figure for a lot of young males who didn't have fathers or something. Like, what a nightmare. It just sounds like a lot of responsibility and no fun, you know? Mine's like 60-40 or 55-45, something like that. Mindy's Club is actually 60-40 women, surprisingly. I mean, I did notice that the last set of videos, I don't know, maybe 7-10 of them or so, have had several thumbs down. And I've also noticed that recently, although I think this has only to do with the recent update to their checks and self-reporting system on uploads, but coincidental with that, and probably linked to that, like every one of my live streams goes to limited ads now. It used to be that a majority of them would stay green, someone would go to yellow, and there was really little rhyme or reason to it. Sometimes seemed like it was just something that was in the title that was misinterpreted by YouTube. Sometimes it was the content within itself that was obvious, and sometimes there was no obvious reason why they didn't yellow one of them or did yellow one of them at all. So, but well, thanks, Mr. Mo. I didn't know YouTube asked those things to people. YouTube never asked me anything like that. I guess YouTube doesn't care what I think. YouTube asks me questions as a creator. How do you enjoy your life here as a creator on YouTube? It sends me polls like that. I never get any questions like the one you just mentioned. Providing feedback on a video, I've never been asked that by YouTube. That's weird. I get creator polls, I guess. I guess they've identified this channel as a creator channel, not a viewer channel or something. So they probably classify everybody into primarily viewers or primarily creators. Well, and it's like, okay, well, I'm not sure what happened with, like, with shorts. It's obviously a platform in progress, but so this community is slated for destruction. I don't think so. I'm too correct about everything. It's impossible for anybody to really make the argument that that anybody should have a problem with me. I'm too reasonable, too correct. I, you know, whatever it is that purportedly is going to be positioned as me being bad, it's you have to be full of shit to interpret it that way. I mean, I think the Omegle thing was a big problem, CJ, because I'm surprised it didn't get you to. I'm surprised it didn't get that stream just monkey wrenched right away, because it was full on, full frontal dong for, I don't know, 4 seconds. Huh. Really interesting in general. But this channel has survived a long time. And the thing is, I did get a strike. I think there was a period in the channel's existence when it was sort of being shadow suppressed by YouTube, possibly, or something like that. But I don't think it is anymore. I'm not sure it's really. Well, the bottom line is, whenever I think about what YouTube might not be doing for me or something, I immediately go TI Tool and say, but Eric, you don't really have anything to say, because if you were serious, you'd have a good thumbnail for every video. You'd put a lot more attention. You could do, Eric, what Love Who does, and he's an INTP. He makes an occasional video. It's heavily edited, and that's designed, made, intended to hit on all of the conventional things that people watch, the regular, normal people watch MBTI videos for. Basically, a list of positive things that you say about a type that somebody self-identifies with. But he sounds a lot smarter about it than other people generally, because he's an INTP. And he gets great views on all of his videos. He doesn't upload nearly as many as I do, but that's part of the thing as well. It's like, if you want to maximize your views per video, you have to limit your total number of uploads. Now, whether or not that ultimately produces better total results or not, it depends. I don't know if he says he's INTP or not. I think he is. I thought he was an INTP when I first typed him and stuff, but I think he's an INTP. Based on what he's doing, his rate of production, how he's sticking to this. I mean, I think he's making as many of them as he can, which suggests he's INTP. There's not that many. Like I saw this, started watching the beginning of this video about how shorts can be such an amazing impact on your channel, and this channel here got this channel here published 50 shorts last year, but it garnered them 1 billion views. And I'm like, okay, because YouTube seems to be saying here that 50 shorts in a year is a lot. I published 300 and something on Minis Club in a month, and that doesn't even include the ones that I posted on this channel during that same month. They were shorts as well, and I uploaded like 10 regular long form videos today, I think, or something like that. I don't know, maybe not quite 10, but like 8, 6, 7. It's all somehow Fly Guy's fault. I agree with that, of course. Wait. Are you telling me? I don't think that's his wife, Fly Guy. That Love Lou is not Love Lou is not his wife. No, it's not. That's not his wife. That's somebody else's wife, and he basically collabed and then took over her channel. Her husband's like rich, super rich. So, but no, there's nothing going on there between Lou and Love Who guy. What's his name? I forget what his name is. Even though it might be tempting to think there is, he's such an and that's another thing that made me think he's an INTP. Watching him interact with her and his clearly, he's clearly so like, oh my God, there's a girl near me. It's kind of like this INTP thing. Like sitting next to an actual woman in real life. Oh no. I really don't know what to do with my body now. That's kind of why I think he's an INTP too. I think ENTPs are kind of like that, but more likely to be like blurting things out rather than too like can't get off the starting gates or something. I'm refilling my coffee in case you're curious. Sorry I didn't give you any commentary as to what was happening there. You must have been terribly confused when suddenly Eric just gets up and walks away for no reason. He said, "Oh no, I'm feeling ontological distress, alarm, concern. How will I survive this ordeal?" Until the soothing sound of my voice came to reassure you, don't worry, I haven't disappeared into another dimension. Professor Frank, did he talk like this? I don't think I ever saw that movie, but I think I'm familiar with what you're talking about. Eddie Murphy plays the character, right? You know what was everyone's favorite movie? Flubber. Who didn't love that movie? Everyone agree. That is my favorite movie. Everybody said it at the same time. Flubber is my all-time favorite. It's history's greatest film. It's so bouncy. It bounces everywhere. Maybe it's something about CJ being here that makes me talk about a movie. Oh, I see. It's because we were talking about movies. That's what made me talk about a movie. CJ brought up movies. CJ did make me talk about movies. It's not speculative anymore. Good news. Update your status book. It's not speculative anymore. CJ did make me talk about movies. There's the original with Jerry Lewis and Eddie Murphy too, but Professor Frank is from The Simpsons. Oh, that guy. On the science and the meow. The weapons grade bouncy ball. You know what joke I like a lot from The Simpsons is the joke when Homer goes. It's a flashback to when Lisa's littler, and he takes her to the musical instrument store, and he says, "Finished files are the result of years of scientific study combined with the experience of years." How many F's are there in this sentence? 5, 6 F's. You are hashtag edgy. You are so hashtag edgy. You're not gonna watch some sellout. Something, it's like as soon as a band becomes known by anybody, you stop listening to them immediately. It'd be interesting to propose to a studio out of the blue now. Six F's. Let's see what it says. The fact that most people can only see 3 F's instead of 6 would be strange if reading were entirely phonetic. In reality, several methods are used to get meaning from print. The most common of these have little to do with individual letters and sounds. An intelligent 7-year-old or proofreader would read 6 F's because they have learned to give all words equal values. Oh my god, talk about TI bias. I get it. In other words, a TI tool user or a dominant will read 6 F's. Probably also, I don't know if that's true for TI only or if it's true for TI and N or TI and S equally. I'm not sure, but the faster we wish to read, the more words we must skip. It's quite possible to read simple narrative but faster than boo words per minute. Is that their word for meow? With comprehension. Fact-packed scientific text obviously has to be read more slowly. A fast reader must concentrate on the most important words. Obviously, someone who does not understand English would have no problem spotting the F's. It would be interesting to see how someone who has English as a second language responds to this. Most people think there are 3 F's because they do not notice the F's of. This is because the F in of is pronounced as a V, so the brain doesn't recognize it as an F. The reader tries to understand the passage and casually ignores the word of, which is repeated 3 times. The mathematical mind is exactly what the question asks and counts the F's. My wife sees a number of letters, but I see a phrase, and therefore ignore the actual task. The splitting of words with hyphens is also important because it puts pressure on the reader to understand the text and follow the words, diverting attention from the real task. It's our belief that your background has no bearing on whether you spot the F's or not. As to why some people miss them, 2 explanations remain. Either it's too late at night, or we are obviously not suited to doing a master's degree and should contemplate a change of course. As a postscript, we submit the following. The silliest mistake in the world. When trying to persuade a class of 7-year-olds the need to reread what they had written, we put the above legend on the blackboard. In the world, right? The best readers immediately read it as the silliest mistake in the world. It's only when we reach the slower readers that the extra N was discovered. At this point, the headmaster came into the room, glanced at the board, and read the message aloud, but incorrectly. A chorus from the class greeted him. "You just made it, sir." Yeah, well, I did read it that way first, and then I noticed it because it occurred to me to look at it to check it for a thing, because obviously it's there as it's formatted the same way as the other thing that we're checking against, That's really interesting. I'm glad I didn't see 3 F's. You're really taking a chance there. What if I had seen 3 F's? Once more than 100 people know about something, it's hashtag lamestream. Yeah, sure, of course. I had to read it like 10 times to see 6. I can't believe I only saw 2. I mean, that seems consistent with what people are saying, except they're saying intelligence rather than TI. It's just TI, It's the fact that what I say about TI is correct, which is that TI is the process of treating words as though they are variables rather than as though they mean things specifically, really. And so when you treat it as a variable, oddly, you become more fixated on its actual meaning than if you treat it as though it means something, in which case you're fixated on your own expression of something. I mean, isn't it ironic that the type that that acts as though. Well, I said five first, then I saw the last of. And I said 5, 6. I mean, so I too saw 5 initially. There's a third of. I wish I could be hashtag lamestream. I wish I'd have more than 100 people here. Wouldn't that be great? But I like the fact that Winston's mom threw the dice there. That would have been awkward if I had said 3. Would you have still shared the link? But see, that's the beautiful thing about cognitive functions. You're not rolling the dice. If you understand when you read that thing, oh, they're just talking about TI. They're not talking about intelligence. It's ridiculous. Then you knew you weren't rolling the dice because in fact they are right that there exist 2 modalities of processing information fundamentally, one of which treats the words as variables and one of which treats them as means of expressing something. So it's like some people will say, well, you just don't get what I mean, I'm not saying it right, because they think that they mean something other than what the words they say mean. And we all have experienced that occasionally when we misspeak and we say something like, I said it the other day, what video was it in? I misnamed something. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was. I was referring to named thing Mia, and I called it by a different name and didn't notice until I watched the video later. That's an example of me misspeaking, and it does happen. In that case, I did mean something other than what I said. But the thing about that is, I didn't catch it in real time. It's not like, and if I had caught it in real time, I would have corrected it immediately. It's not like I would have said, but it's different when, there's a different phenomenon that happens when somebody goes like, tries several different ways to express a concept, and they're still not convincing, and you go, okay, well, you know, you're gonna have to. That's not very convincing, and then they say, well, I'm just not saying it very well. What I'm saying is still fundamentally correct. It's like, well, you're not saying anything. Is the problem. If you need to actually say the words that are fundamentally correct before you can claim that you have words that are fundamentally correct, is my position on it. But the reason they don't see it like that way is because they're trying to convey either something holistic or subjective in a way that generates agreement, and I'm not agreeing with it. Because they're focused on the concrete, which is whether or not we agree, rather than whether or not we should agree, which is something abstract. Ryan Hall, y'all, follows tornadoes. Tonight, Ryan had about 30,000 people watching the weather with him while the storm chasers reported in. I mean, that's, you know, it's like, I get that. If you were going to go onto the scene of something exciting and produce breaking news and shit, then that's going to attract, understandably going to attract a higher number of people. Like, it used to be that every time there was a police chase in Los Angeles, the whole city would, like, it was break time, and everyone would just sort of stop what they were doing and turn on the TVs, whatever business they were in, it'd all be just like, okay, oh, there's a police chase on. Someone would come in and be like, there's a chase on. And you turn on the TV, and all the local stations have it on. And the helicopters are following, and they're driving, and they show them driving all crazy on the freeway, and everyone's like... So I get that, people like exciting breaking news, but that takes a lot of go get them. 900,000 views tonight. Well, I mean, he's got a team of people involved though, right? He's got like a couple of people out there storm chasing, sending him live video feed that he's then commenting on, and then sending out as a combined live video feed, something like that. That's pretty high. That's a pretty like put together operation. I mean, that's a good idea for a YouTube channel, and understandably successful. It's the kind of thing I might watch too. In other words, it's really focused on what people want to consume more than what you want to make, I think. Well, I mean, unless he really wants to make that stuff, which I guess he probably does since he studied weather. But that's the biggest challenge for almost every single YouTuber is like people. Well, I guess it's not. It's for every non-TE YouTuber. The struggle is to give the audience what they want rather than make what you want to make, right? Maybe that's just an ENFP thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm generalizing too much here. So, well, yeah, the shorts feed it's just like suddenly the last like 48 hours worth of shorts that I put up or something, not one of them got on the shorts feed long enough to test it out to see if it was good or whatever yet. I haven't checked back since earlier this evening, but the last one published at 8 o'clock, and probably be a brief hiatus as I make more, before I make more. But maybe not, who knows, I might make them after the stream or something like that. I have some plot line I still plan to complete, so it's not like I've got to come up with new stuff in my head, really. Not that that's usually a problem, but I end up in whatever my plans are going in, and playing out, like, I keep the general plot points the same, but how the jokes or whatever just have to come about on the fly, on their own. It's funny, that lady, who played the lead character in Strangers with Candy, Amy Sedaris. There's a quote from her about memorizing lines versus freestyling, like, what do they call it in acting? Ad-libbing. Yeah, storm chasing is pretty badass. I would like to do that myself. As far as SE things go, that sounds fantastic. And there's a lot of SE things that sound fantastic to me, like going exploring spooky old abandoned shit. Although it sounds a little sketchy because you never know, you're gonna come across the thing that's scary isn't the paranormal aspect. It's the idea that there might be some homeless people there or something, But that sounds like a lot of fun to me. I often get this urge to just like go drive and explore something, sometimes in the middle of the night. I never really act on it though. Sasquatch got in trouble for sure. That's the most recent one, the last one to publish. It's a pretty good short, I gotta say. I'll play it in here. It's short enough, I might as well play it. Let me go to KLUB Club. Yeah, I can tell when my shorts are getting zero action on the feed because when they're getting when any of them is hitting, my sub number will go up a little bit. You know. Click this. What's going on? Why are you being difficult? There. What you doing? Start. Play. What you doing? Why are you being like that? Why are you being meow? Oh, I see. Push play.
What human girl do? First card. I really don't want to go over this card. Why human raised from in air? Hi, not close, Muska. Even though you're a cat, you still can't touch my butthole.
You're not playing properly. This is so annoying. This is like the ultimate in annoyingness when things don't work properly, you know? Can you just stop being annoying, please? Oh, for fuck's sake. It's like all you can say, right, is oh, for fuck's sake. I wonder if Hater Pants went and reported all my Mendy's Club videos, right? That's why they're not getting any action. That seem unwise of me.
And girl do. First card. I really don't want to go over this card. Why human raised from in air? Hi, not close, Muska. Even though you're a cat.
I'm not even playing the visuals. It's ridiculous. Forget it.
Still can't touch
This
my
is super annoying. So annoying. It's just, can you stop being so fucking annoying, you know? It's like, that's what I want to tell things in the world when they're being wrong and annoying. Is, okay, you need to stop. You need to stop existing in my face right now. And then they never even do. It's like, what the hell is wrong with you things? What about Elise? I don't know. What was up with her? What happened with her? I never heard what happened with her. She just kind of disappeared one day. Yeah, I want to know what you mean. I want to know what you mean. Maybe you know where she disappeared to. I haven't seen her in quite a while. She used to be around a lot. I didn't find her a problem. She was a little sex fixated in terms of topics, maybe. But, you know, not impossibly so, not unbearably so, or whatever. CJ O'Connell, she went batshit nuts out and ragged on Rachel tonight. I blocked her. Really? Huh. I wonder what happened to her. What'd she say? Did she give any indication about like what it's actually about? Or just whatever pissed her off or set her off or whatever? Oh, during the Sean typing premiere? What'd she say? Why would she go after Rachel? Since she's blocked, I probably won't even be able to see it, you know? Whatever what she said. I'm curious. Like, I'm curious if it was revelatory about, is there something specific she was mad about? Oh, she slammed me to Rachel. Oh, was Rachel there during the Sean typing? I mean, I present a solution to homelessness. A real solution. I make the most sensible case a person can make for taking actual action and what kind of action should be taken and how it would solve the problem. How could that piss anybody off? It's not like there's anybody who's really a pro-homelessness advocate out there going like, we need more homelessness. It's not like I'm projecting a lot of privilege either. I don't I'm not like Tiffany, you know. Ew. I understand how why do you say you're bad? I don't understand why you say my bad. Are you saying you're bad that you didn't get it faster or something? I don't know. Nobody still hasn't told me what she said though. Like, did she accuse me of anything specific or just say like I'm a terrible person or that I'm controlling, that I'm dishonest or lying, that I don't care about people, that I'm racist, that I mean, like, what kind of accusations were they? Okay, and what were the reasons? That I'm narcissistic? Does she know what she means with that word? I mean, I don't know what she means with that word. And what an awful general word, like that just people use to mean I want to condemn this person as bad without specifying anything bad about them. It's sort of like I believe this person is secretly evil. It is a word that means that somehow. When people use it on me, but when I try to, that's why I try to use the term accountability avoidance disorder, because then it's actually descriptive of something meaningful, right? Like, okay, so what you're saying is I'm not being able to be held accountable. What that person is saying with narcissistic is like, who knows what they mean? They probably mean like he doesn't really care about people, or he's willing to use people for his nefarious purposes and throw them aside, or yeah. It's ironic how narcissistic women weaponize the word. I mean, and what they mostly do though is they weaponize. Um, they weaponize breaking language. You know, it's like they weaponize the fact that people don't require necessarily terms to mean specific things to get the gist of what the person intends, and the fact that the gist they get, the gist the person intends, um, bear little relation to each other necessarily because there's no clarification about what either party means that to the extent that the gist is right, it means very little other than the other person doesn't like you, you know? Women go after relationships according to psychologists. That's why 3 little girls get into fights. One little girl tries to power play. The later women try to disrupt someone's relationship. You know, Brittany did that. Brittany tried to first attack me to Kimberly, and then tried to attack Kimberly to me. Now, first she tried to attack Kimberly to me, and then she tried to attack me to Kimberly. In any case, it was brief and came off really unhinged. Wow, well, she must be having a bad day, I guess. Yeah, I guess I elicit some. There's something about. I suspect that this links strongly to people who actually do have accountability avoidance disorder. There's something about me that eventually triggers them into revealing themselves. They just can't help it because my very existence seems to run counter to their ways. The controlling narcissistic bit. Where in the world is this coming from? You know, it's like Rachel is not a particularly assertive person. So I get that it would be possible, in theory, from an outsider's perspective. It's not nearly as possible as it appears. But I can get why it might appear to somebody who's looking in on this relationship that one half of the criteria have been met for a controlling relationship. Namely, I would understand why somebody would incorrectly assume that Rachel could be controlled in a fully consensual relationship, which is to say one that she can get out of in some way. Or, you know, like, or that she's susceptible to being controlled because she can't get out of it or something like that. But then there's the other half of the criteria to meet, which is there needs to be some indication that the other party is actually controlling, right? That I'm trying to leverage a power differential, or that I tell her what to do, or that I don't treat her with respect or treat her equally or something like that. But it does seem to be one place where people aim, because I guess it's conceivable that I don't know. I don't know. Like the thing is this. I've been the subject of plenty of ridiculous claims, and over time I've come to understand hold on a second, Karma's Pimp. Do you think I'm controlling of Rachel? Do you actually think that? And why? What possible justification could you have for thinking that? The issue of whether or not I'm controlling a relationship with Rachel is a fair issue to talk about, right? And it's absolutely correct to say this is interesting and confusing because, as far as I can tell, usually, even when someone attacks, I can figure out what little thing they're meowing, right? To get me, to try to get me. They're gonna misframe this thing of mine as something else, but I'm not controlling at all of Rachel. There's zero of that. You know? So it's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, what's up with Karma's Pimp? I don't think we're talking shit. I'm curious about the purportedly spiteful claims made about me. I agree they were spiteful, so I don't dispute what CJ or Winston's mom, how they portrayed them. And it's certainly a reasonable topic of conversation. So what's the problem? This isn't even really about Elise S. It's about, because she's not the first person to try to represent me as controlling. In fact, she's like the third or fourth. This happened with Spacey's, what's her name, Tori. Like, Tori tried to, when Rachel was having a mental health breakdown in December, before she went totally batshit crazy, but progressing towards that, Tori was blowing up her cell phone about how I'm controlling her and I'm withholding her stuff from her, so like I won't give her phone or something. But except that's never been true at all, right? It's like Rachel comes to me and says, "This is what she says." Well, why is Rachel coming to me and saying that? Because obviously Rachel has her phone, you know? I mean, why would I have her phone? Why would the idea that I would somehow try to control somebody like that is insane. It's just not me at all. So, she said that though. Then I've been accused of that by Becky. I've been accused of that by I had another example in my head a second ago. So it's not the first time that people have accused me of this. So it's absolutely a worthwhile topic of conversation, Karma Spam. Hopefully you stayed long enough to hear this rather than just pulling some shit, right? I don't know how old this couch is. 500 years old. Karma's Pimp is, on a few occasions in the past, like kind of pulled one of these things. I'm not sure what's up with Karma's Pimp exactly. You all underestimate subtle pressure. I mean, the thing is, I don't know what you mean by that exactly. I guess you could say, well, your subtle pressure there caused me to shift gears, which is probably what you're trying to get at or something. But it's always easy to get me to shift gears. It's not a challenge. It could be unsubtle pressure too. But regardless, back to the point. So let's now talk about what's up with Karma's pen, right? Like, what the hell's up with that? Where did that come from? And what's going on? The thing is, I'm not trying to run some sort of game here or strategy. Now I want to know, like, what the hell is going on? What was broke Karma's Pimp, assuming it really is Karma's Pimp, to say all of a sudden, well, now you guys gonna just shit talk, lie, and delude all yourselves in this circle jerk. I'm out. What could possibly provoke that that happened here? Anybody have any notions, theories, thoughts? Why change direction? I don't want to change direction. See, I mean, that's the problem, Jeremiah Fix, is I'm very much opposed to not rooting out the getting everything out into the open where it can be seen. I don't like having the fact that I have no idea what I did to set Karma's Pens off, you know? Or what anything that could possibly have happened here that could have set him off. Because I try to be as straightforward and open as everything, as about everything as possible that was relevant to anything. So the idea that we would lie and delude ourselves, what is that about? What is he talking about? Or she, or whoever that is, you know? What are they talking about? Doesn't it bother you when you have no idea what someone's talking about? It really bothered me. I want to have some kind of intuitive link. Oh, you're talking about Rachel. Well, Rachel's a different matter, Jeremiah Fix, than you. Okay. If Rachel wants me to shift course, it's very straightforward. The problem is, she usually doesn't really have any clearer a sense or more of a desire to be the one who knows what they want than I do, you know? I mean, it's true that I'm the extrovert, she's an introvert, and that also being an ENTP means there are occasions where it might appear that I kind of steamroll over her and have bad FE, right? Like but that's the only thing I can conclude about that is an FE failure on my part to not give her enough space to talk, for me to occupy too much of the space. I also talk about that and acknowledge that that's an issue. Your point is that you don't need to be boisterous to be in control. Yeah, totally. Like, the thing is, Rachel and I both tried to control our way into a relationship of genuine mutuality, as per the habits of the relationships we came out of at first. The realization that we were truly on the same page about everything came gradually to both of us. To Rachel, I think it's still, on some level, more difficult to fully understand because she wants explanations of a sort that aren't very revelatory about reality sometimes. Like the thing is, for me and Rachel, every day is all the proof anybody should ever need about what our relationship is from an SI perspective. But from an NI perspective, it needs to be reflective of it needs to be an instance of a pattern of thing. What is this that we have? Or is it a soulmate relationship? Right? So it's like the challenge then in the relationship, it never comes from within. It comes from some external source that's taking advantage of the capacity to step on someone's 8-slot function in ways that are that trigger them into a kind of defensiveness. So what that means for Rachel is some NI stuff will tell her shit that's exactly in contradiction to her actual own experience. And instead of combating the NI with SI, her own experience, that contradicts that completely, she combats it with other NI, or can't combat it adequately with other NI, because that means she needs to NE. In other words, she doesn't have other NI or responsive NI in place. So she kind of fumbles around and and as a consequence, can be easily gaslit, kind of. But it depends on her mood, right? So there's she has to be kind of in a not optimal place emotionally anyway, which usually means she'll usually take Adderall a couple days a month, and after those couple of days, then she has this she's not FI polar, so she experiences the normal fussiness that people coming down from that, and sometimes she vents a little bit of that fussiness until she SI catches up. But having the map of all this has made it much more possible for her to sort of consciously and willfully engage SI things, knowing that is what she's doing and why. Even it's kind of it's faking it, right? It's not real SI, but it's with SI, it doesn't matter whether you accomplish it by a real SI or not, as long as you eat, right? Yeah, most of the time KP seems chill. I agree. Sometimes he, but this is not the first time he's displayed something like that. It's not like Rachel stayed in any previous relationship that was like that for any length of time. Although the one that was most like that, he got ahead of it and ghosted her abruptly before there could be any real closure or finality to the relationship. He was BPD. So the presupposition that anyone but you and Rachel can judge a relationship is to presuppose they know what makes a relationship for you and Rachel valuable. Also, we could judge theirs first. Well, I mean, I think it's perfectly okay for people to judge a relationship. I sought specifically the judgment and clarification of other people's perspectives on how Kimberly treated me when borderline personality disorder is BPD. Kimberly has BPD, but Rachel is bipolar. Bipolar is a much better thing for somebody to have because it can be treated with medication, and it can be made dormant basically with medication or go into remission. Whereas BPD is a trauma-induced habit of being that is much more challenging to address is a behavioral disorder. Like addiction or something, you know. There's no pill for a person's toxic expressions of self, you know. If somebody chooses to be toxic about shopping, be a shopaholic or something, or somebody chooses to be toxic about loving, which is what BPD is basically, then you're talking about behavioral disorder. And BPD is a particularly noxious one because it's not an addiction that occurs from who you are, like most addictions do, but rather from what happens to you. And that makes it impossible to makes it almost impossible to grow out of. In other words, because it's an addiction that is born of how you were formed during your formative years. I think it's more or less untreatable. Supposedly cognitive behavioral therapy works a little bit, but as far as I can tell, it's untreatable because the basic problem precludes the solution, which is, the basic problem is they can't trust a person enough to be vulnerable about assessing them. And so, and any possible solution to that is predicated on getting past that barrier. But that barrier proves way stronger than you'd think. Way more resilient, way more robust, and way more resistant to any kind of reason, love, kindness, etc. than you'd ever imagine. The tree's formed like that. You can't go back now and stop it from being all curvy here. It would have been easy at the time when it was growing to stop that, but now you can't go to get it to have not happened is not just difficult, it's impossible. That's what it feels like to me. And I don't want to underestimate the capacity of a human being to grow, to be able to meaningfully apply reflective processes and metacognitive processes to change their destiny, so to speak. I think, unlike the tree example, it's slightly possible for people, whereas it's impossible for a tree. But it's challenging. It's very. I think typologically, I don't know if there's any. The type that I would expect to have the most advantage in terms of dealing with that shit would be probably like an ENFJ or an ENTJ. ENTJs would probably be the most likely to get through childhood trauma without taking it out on other people. See, that has nothing to do with the type, because the types that are most likely to have BPD are the types that have abusive parents, or abusive childhoods, and that doesn't seem to link to anything other than circumstance, really. What everybody needs, this is a psychology theory that I get behind 100%, which is that a child needs one good mother, quote unquote, which is one adult who loves them like a good mother loves them, whoever that adult is. And if you have that, like genuine unconditional love, caring, concern for the well-being of, protection of, all the things that are necessary to genuinely love your child, and to ideally to consistently display that their existence makes your life better, makes you happy, is important to you, and their happiness as well. If you have that, you'll turn out okay. If you don't have that, you won't. Because if you do have that, you'll be protected from some of the trauma that might otherwise be inflicted upon you from life. Unconditional love and well-wishing, genuine wanting the person to be happy and successful, not just one, right? Now, not unconditional love doesn't mean unconditional approval. Okay? Don't mistake that. Unconditional love means this. It means I'm scolding you right now and including in it a reminder that I always love you no matter what. But yeah, we need to address this problem, right? That's unconditional love. It's not unconditional approval. So sufficient love is that you'll never abandon your child no matter what happens, no matter what, right? And that's the case for me and Delilah for sure. Whatever kind of shit should prospectively happen in Delilah's life, to the extent that I have anything to give or share with her, then she's welcome to it, you know? Well, tough love, like I said, even the toughest of love should be accompanied by a believable reminder. So in other words, if I have to engage in tough love, I shouldn't just say, this hurts me more than it hurts you or something. Then I should be struggling under the weight of having to use negative kind of training mechanisms on you rather than positive. It should be very burdensome to me. Because any tough love decision should be made after considerable deliberation. After all, there's a presumption there that you know better than the other individual what's best for them. And that's sometimes the case, okay? And sometimes called for. But if you're not deeply troubled by the fact that you're engaging in that behavior, if it's a pattern of yours to think that that's a good approach, then that's not a good approach and you're wrong. And you're a bad parent. Good parents protect, love. Well, spanking is not necessarily like off limits, right? I would say that it's reasonable to conceive of a universe where you give a child a choice. I could conceive of myself as a child easily choosing a spanking over a period of shutdown, which is what my parents would use. Like, you go to your room for the rest of the afternoon or something, right? So the key thing there is this. How much are you considering what your child responds to when deciding how to behave as a parent? If you're trying to impose your parenting style on a child for whom it's not going to work, you're being a bad parent. In other words, good parenting is adaptive and responsive. It is ergonomically designed for the child. It's not top down. And that's true of every good relationship, really, right? And in a good relationship, it's not one person dictates all the terms and stuff and has all the power, and the other person gets forced. The thing is, in any healthy relationship, people avoid leverage at all costs. Avoid using leverage. Because once somebody's used leverage against somebody else, all the trust is broken. So, because you didn't try to convince me and allow me to engage in a real process of decision making in which we could mutually affirm this, but instead we're okay with getting your way even against my will, I no longer trust you at all. So it's like that's basic rule number one of human interactions. If you force me to do something, you've lost all trust, because you've denied that, not only that I might know best about what's best for me, but that I should even be permitted to be part of the discussion. And that's the absolute worst thing you can do to another human being, right? Lila seems to have all her shit. Yeah, she does. I mean, right now she's fucking around. She's like, she's finished college, gotten her degree, has some, like, I guess you'd say, like, living money from leftovers from her college fund or whatever for a few months, and she just kind of fucking around. She got COVID. Did I mention she got COVID? After all of that shit, she says she lost her sense of taste and smell too, and she was so diligent about everything COVID related. She got she's taking countless COVID tests, and finally one of them came out positive. She realized when she was like, "Oh God, I feel sick." And she did a COVID test, and she had an appointment for the doctor coming up, but she's like, "Well, before I go into the doctor, I better freaking test myself." So she did, and for very TI reasons. Like, I just wouldn't be defensible if I went in there knowing I might have it but didn't test myself. I couldn't really defend that, you know. Run for it. Run for IT. This is the back of this shirt. Will tell you, I got this at a local yard sale, and I got it because you don't really see that many orange shirts, you know. Hey, there's an orange shirt that's got, looks like it was kind of homemade. It's actually a church shirt. Rapey beatings ones. Well, what we need to make this relationship more healthy is some rapey beatings. Holy Angels Jogathon, is that what it says? I can't really see my own back. Oh, this way. Yeah, Jogathon 2017. So Holy Angels is the local Catholic church here in Arcadia. No, I bought this shirt at a yard sale. I don't like jogging. Jogging is like tiring like sex, but without any positive. It's like, boy, that's a lot of moving around. But at least with sex, the motivation to move around is not just to move around, you know. That's what the motivation for jogging is. I'm going to move around to move around. Okay, that's not a good reason to move around. You need another reason to move around, like wanting to play go inside, come out again, go inside, come out again, which is like what my cat does, really. Sex is just like my cat. It wants to go in, come inside the house, and go outside the house, and come inside the house, and go outside the house. And, you know, a woman in this analogy is like me. She has to keep getting up and opening the door and then closing the door. Oh, wait, there's no analog there. Okay, well, that's different, I guess. No, my dad's out of town, so it's parked in the driveway. I don't have to worry about moving it. But thank you for the reminder. I'd have an hour. I really like that analogy. Sex is like my cat. It can't make up its mind whether it wants to be inside or out, you know? Didn't I just let you outside? Scratch, 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 scratch. Okay, come on in. Sit back down. Scratch, 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 scratch. Didn't I just let you in? Get out. Okay, fine. Just stay outside. Sit back down. You see, in this analogy, the cat is my penis. In case you didn't get it. In case it wasn't clear. In case you didn't get it. In case it wasn't clear. In case you didn't get it. In case I wasn't near. In case you didn't get it. In case it wasn't clear. Mama's got a squeeze box. Daddy plays this all night. And it goes in and out and in and out. It's like the Who's only good song, maybe. One of several. Actually, they got several good songs, but not many, considering how much shit they produced. The Who, one of those bands is just like, okay. If you like The Who, you're liking the wrong band from that time period, you know? It's what it boils down to. And that's why I hereby condemn you. So, let's make a list of things that are wrong to like. The Who. It's wrong to like The Who. Okay, I didn't say they didn't have a decent amount of good songs, but that's a very low bar, CJ. You know it. You didn't even say great songs, or spectacular songs, or brilliant songs, or anything. They're just good songs at best, and there's only a decent amount of them. So, it is wrong to like The Who as a consequence. And anybody who does, we should run up to them and put a sticker on them that reads, "I'm wrong to like The Who." Now let's talk about who else it's wrong to like. It's wrong to like Bill Walton's broadcasting of basketball. If you do like it, you get a sticker saying, "I'm wrong about Bill Walton." It's wrong to like that band that plays that song, "Sitting on a Park Bench." That band. It's wrong to like that band. It's called Shitty Druid Band or something. Carrot Top. It's wrong to like Carrot Top. It's correct to feel bad for Carrot Top, though. I do feel bad for him. He's like the Vanilla Ice of comedy. Who's got some epic tracks? Who, CJ? Jethro Tull. Right. That's the band's name. I kept wanting to say Judas Priest, but same syllable, starts with a J, but not Jethro Tull. Anyway, yeah, Jethro Tull. Terrible band. It is wrong to like them. Okay? Let's see. Almost anything with a song, but not absolutely anything, with a song over 7 minutes, it is wrong to like that band in general. Okay? If they have, like, one of their albums has, like, a 9-minute opus on it, you are wrong to like that band. Just, you didn't get the message in that album. Oh, come on. Okay, yeah, okay. Alright, CJ, you're right. You're right. There are some epic Who songs, but they're not good epic. The amount of decent songs that are good does not overlap the set of songs that are epic, except in one single song, which is "There's got to be a twist. Pinball Wizard has such a supple wrist." That's their only place where their epic material and their good material overlap. And that's too few places. Domino's Pizza? It is not wrong to like Domino's Pizza. No, you are not wrong to like Domino's Pizza. Domino's Pizza is fine if it's whatever pizza place is closest to you. Okay? Let's see, who else is it wrong? Oh, it's wrong to like the most recent Fiona Apple album. Even though it seems at first when you're listening to it for the first like I don't know how many seconds, like this seems like it might be promising. Okay, well we're gonna exempt Velvet Underground from this rule. They're the exception that proves the rule. Okay, Velvet Underground is the exception that proves the rule. Maybe like some rave shit like anniversary of love, anniversary of love, or eat, sleep, rave, repeat, or LCD Sound System's exempt from the rule as well. There are a few bands that are, but they're the exceptions. It's also the case that if a band is good when they're incorporating a lot of noise, they'd be better if they didn't. So take Pavement, for example. Pavement had to grow into NI. Their initial albums are way too NE noisy, trying to be arty, you know? And then gradually, as that guy grew up a bit and aged, his music, he started paring back on the noise and the weirdness and just letting his songs be his songs more, you know? And so, I'm a fan of Pavement. In fact, you know, sometimes I'll put on Pavement's one of the few bands that'll sometimes find the album on YouTube and put on an album. I usually play tracks, not albums, but I'll still listen to occasionally a Pavement album. It's got a lot of SI linkage for me because I remember specific times in my life when I had like a turntable and I had Bright in the Corners on vinyl and I had the other Pavement things on cassette, so I listened to them in the car, but I had a couple other Pavement albums that I listened to in the car, you know. But you gotta find the ones that aren't so self-indulgent, because that's the problem with NE types is they're also SI types, which means they're fundamentally prone to self-indulgence in ways that harm the media product ultimately. 7-Eleven flavored toothpaste. 7-Eleven pizza, no. Yeah, you're wrong to like 7-Eleven pizza. But you are not wrong to get it necessarily. Because sometimes you just need something that's actual food to shove down your throat. You probably will have diarrhea later, but it's better than being hungry right now. Great minds, 7-Eleven alike. One of my favorite all-time bands. Hard to say favorite because it's like some of the bands that I would list as my big influences, favorite bands. It's really better to say like, what over the course of your life, what have been some of your favorite bands? You know, I went through a Toy Dolls phase. I went through a Velvet Underground phase. You know, I went through They Might Be Giants phase, a Billy Bragg phase, and this is like teenage stuff. Can't prevent Beethoven. You gotta remember back when I was a teenager, we were talking about 80s, early 90s, like 90, 91 maybe, and I was 20 and like 92 or something. So, there was a lot of stuff that exists now that didn't exist yet. And, I definitely had a huge Pixies phase. I remember when my first girlfriend gave me a cassette tape of, their EP that has Ed Is Dead on it, and that album, I remember listening to it on repeat for the entire trip through to Austria and Italy. I took with my parents when I was like 18, and I just have this image in my head of sitting on like a bus, and then another image in my head of sitting on like a train with my headphones in and my Walkman playing the cassette tape, and just turning over and starting again on the other side, and me just feeling like, oh my god, this is amazing. I can't believe how good this is. It's unbelievable. And having the first time in my life feeling things like, I know it's shocking, It's absolutely shocking, Boba Fett. It's so gratifying to determine that's the case. I do too, CJ. Eucalyptus koala. You and I exchanged emails. Makes sense, especially since my favorite paper tracks I've heard so far, honestly, they're most straightforward and chill. Right. Their best songs are the ones where he just lets the song be the song, and doesn't play. Uh, Look at me, be weird here in the corner. Their most famous song, I think, is that one. What is that song called? God damn it. They have one song that was kind of like a hit, and not really any others. I want to remember what it was. Most famous Pavement songs. Let's find out what the most pavement. Cut your hair. That's what it is. Cut your hair is probably the their most famous song. Why? Why am I muting myself? I thought I fixed that issue. Does this make things go faster if I turn off the camera for a second? Pavement. Cut your hair. Oh, that's right. I intentionally turned it off because I wanted to listen to this song. Okay. Darling, don't you go and cut your hair. Do you think it's gonna make him change? You know that song? No big hair. Songs mean a lot when songs are bought, and so are you. Yeah, this one got like I think it's their highest charting song. Highest charting Pavement song. What was Pavement's biggest hit? Cut Your Hair, number one. At the top spot is the band's most famous song taken from 1994's Crooked Rain, Crooked Rain. It was released as a single of the record, and to this day is their biggest selling release, reaching number 10 on the Billboard Alternative Songs, which is not very high. I think They Might Be Giants has a hit song right now, maybe, or something like that. Highest charting They Might Be Giants song. But TMBG probably be better. Looks like Birdhouse in Your Soul is still their highest, most successful song. That was a long time ago. So, list of singles. Their number one was, their top performing single was Birdhouse in Your Soul, which reached number 3 on the US Alt, 125 on Australia, and number 6 in the UK. And they hit number 11 in US Alt for Anna Ing, which is a really good song. And they really haven't hit anything since. And nothing's charted since 2001. And the thing that charted in 2001 was the music from Malcolm in the Middle. It's weird to see a band that's put out so much stuff have so few things chart, you know? There's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 songs of theirs that charted. And they have so many songs. I don't even know how many songs they have. A lot. So, that's interesting. You know, they've got a lot of good songs too, so it just goes to show you can have kind of an incredible body of work and not really succeed ultimately, you know. I don't know. I'm not familiar with Merle Haggard really. Something about that one song one day, YouTube suggested it to me, and I found out the thumbnail plus the song title. I was like, okay, I gotta see what this thing sounds like. What's the actual good song by Pavement? Well, I mean, I like Shady Lane quite a bit. Blinded by the chancers, we had oysters and dry lancers. When the check, when it arrived, we went red to touch, and a redder shade of neck on a whiter shade of trash. And this Emma report is giving me the rash. I don't remember how it goes. This is a long time ago that I played that song. Range Life's pretty good. Got a range life. They got Stereo. Stereo's a great song. That one rocks. It's like Pavement had to figure out how to rock without being too smarmy alt, you know? Like, they resort to noise because they didn't know how to rock. They rock pretty well on Stereo. Like, Weezer knew how to rock right from the beginning. You know, they knew how to play some fucking rock and roll. Weezer is a band that's so much better than Pavement, you know, ultimately. But Pavement has an SI place in my heart because it's resonant enough intuitively, and at the time I was really into it, you know, so I'm really familiar with it. Somebody's honey is getting wrapped out of a box. Somebody's cold one is giving me chills away. There's a waterfall away from me that takes you further every day. So be cool. Say it ain't so. Whoa, whoa. Your love is a heartbreaker. Say it ain't so. Whoa, whoa. Your love is a heartbreaker. Damn Jesus, this bottle of Stevens awakens ancient feelings like father, stepfather. Wow. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's fucking epic, right? That is an epic song. That's fucking just, oh my god, that rocks so hard. It's fantastic. But Weezer's got good new songs too. Like Pork and Beans is great. That's a much newer Weezer song. Yeah, Weezer had a lot of really good, has a lot of really good stuff. But it's because the guy's an INFJ and it's very NI. And then you see like somebody like Billy Joe from Green Day. He's the ENFJ kind of version of that, which is less. Like every instance of it is less amazing. And then another example of, but it's still pretty rad, It's still pretty damn rad. Like, so there's a few Green Day albums that are in my SI wheelhouse too. Do you have the time to listen to me one? That album? That's a fucking great album. There's a great video on YouTube somewhere of them playing like when they're in high school and everyone's just walking right by them and not paying any attention to them. But Billy Joel doesn't give a fuck. He's just like doing his thing, So yeah, I guess I'm gonna wrap it up here relatively soon. I don't know if you guys have heard that new hot club hit that's sweeping the nation, Windy Whippets. But is it a song that everybody's humming these days? I kind of want to learn how to play that song. I wonder who wrote that, because the people are anonymous, like the Daft Punk people or something. They wear masks when they perform it. But it's such a good song. I was really surprised when I heard it. I was like, wow, who made this? Hey, Mr. Cloud. Hey, Mr. Sun. Hey, Mr. Snow, I think you are the one. The weather event I'll take home to Mom. I'll tell her you were my weather all along, and now we'll be connected at the hip. Why? 'Cause you're my weather event. Some of their songs are, CJ. They're kind of hit and miss. One of the greatest songs released in the last 20 years is "Get Lucky." That's an amazing song. That thing is a brilliant piece of work. You want to talk about a song that really soars, you know? Da, 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 da. It's great. It's a great song. And the video for it is fantastic too. It's like just a still photo until this one little section and like deep in the middle of it where the band that is playing on the stage as a still photo suddenly starts moving for like one chunk of the song and then goes back to being still again. It's a cool video. It's so understated. Just close your eyes, Santa will arrive tonight. Arriving through your chimney on his reindeer flight. 'Cause Christmas is coming early this year. Congratulations, my dear. You're getting that pony that you wanted. Aren't you happy about that? Good news, everybody. You're getting that pony you wanted. Remember how you asked me? You said to tell Santa that you wanted that pony. CJ, was that you who was telling me that earlier? You called me and said, "Hey Eric, you got it in with Santa, right? You're a big YouTuber." I'm like, "Yeah, of course." All us huge YouTubers like me have an in with Santa. And then you were like, "Okay, well, I've been asking for a pony for years and not gotten it yet." That was you, right? Yeah, it was. Okay, cool. So anyway, CJ was telling me earlier, he's been asking for a pony for years and not gotten it yet. So I called up Santa. I was like, "Hey Santa, don't mean to bug you. It's Eric." I was like, "You cannot bug me, Eric. You gotta be kidding me. You changed my life with your typing of me and Mrs. Claus." I said, "Oh Santa, you're too much." Anyway, could you just check on something real quick for me? Because I got this issue here. I got a friend who's, I'm afraid of him to slip through the cracks. I know he's nice. Like, he's way nicer than me, and I never even made the naughty list at all, right? So, he's got to have made it. And he's been asking for a pony for years, and apparently he hasn't gotten it yet. He's like, "That sounds odd. That doesn't sound right." And he checked, and it turned out there were two CJ O'Connells, and they were both, it was getting duplicated, basically. The one of them was on the naughty list. He was he was guilty of several instances of genocide, having wiped out multiple native populations of humans. Anyway, and naturally Santa didn't want to give him a pony, but he had also asked for a pony. So the confusion was, on the asking end they were identical, on the name end they were identical, and what an elf had done is corrected it supposedly to make sure that it was a duplicate, and CJ had been put on dark mode, which is so Santa didn't even see his name. The real this CJ, the other CJ, kept getting coal. So anyway, that was the problem, CJ. And you should have seen your pony tonight, because like I said, we're having an extra Christmas this year. We're having an extra Christmas in April, and it's happening tonight. So it's I mean, it's upcoming night, not right now, obviously. It's the night of the 14th it'll be. So sometime around midnight, probably, maybe in about 10 and a half hours you should get your pony. Now I cannot speak. I lost my voice. I'm speechless and redundant because I love yous not enough. I'm lost for words. That doesn't seem to be the right proposition there. Are you and words lost together? In which case, shouldn't you be lost with words? The hilarious Green Day song, of course, is the video for "I Walk Alone," in which, as it says in the first comment under "I Walk Alone," somebody commented on that video. I walk alone with my bandmates because in the song "I Walk Alone," all three of them are walking together down this highway. It makes no sense at all. Anyway, that's a good song. But you know what? What one of the greatest production jobs ever is like, if you want to listen to a song that is beautifully produced, it's mixed, mastered perfectly, and it's huge and epic and fucking pounding in all the right ways, and also just it's like an excellent, perfect job of music production is 21 Guns. 21 Guns is stunning, a stunning work of engineering and mixing and mastering and recording and everything like that. I can't think of any other song that is that big in its scope of like both frequency ranges and ambition, and totally pulls it off, you know. 21 Guns. So good. So good at the song. I haven't listened to it in a long time. Makes me want to listen to that song. That one, fucking, you just can't help but go. You are. He's Gregory in disguise, hands in his pockets. Now he's walking down the drive. You guys to realize that he's Gregory in disguise, hands in his pockets. Now he's walking down the drive. Averts his eyes. He doesn't want you guys to realize that Gregory in disguise. He hates the lies, wants to confront the men, always telling them, but every time he tries, they only run and hide. Again, he is denied the chance to realize them. You approach sneakily, he'll try to encroach up on the model, then perhaps he'll get the chance to yell at them. He's Gregory in disguise, hands in his pockets, right down the drive. Averts his eyes. I want you guys to realize that he's Gregory in disguise, hands in his pockets. Now he's walking down the drive. Averts his eyes. He doesn't want you guys to realize he's Gregory in disguise. You know, Wake Me Up When September Ends was a very popular song for acoustic guitar players to learn how to play for a stretch of time. Like, you go to parties and if somebody would pick up a guitar, they'd play that song, you know. I'm not super feeling like playing the guitar right now. I don't know why not. It's just kind of feeling meh. But I will play this. I guess appropriately I'll play this. When I was younger, it seemed that everything gleamed. I don't know what happened to me, but I've lost that sense of urgency, and I don't think that I'll ever see it again. If you follow my lead, you'll discover I'm loster than you. And you'll wanna know the way to get back out to wherever it was you thought you knew. And tomorrow will be just like today. I'll be lost then too. It's a matter of mood as much as a matter of will. And the things I do and the direction I point to still seem a part of me, though departedly. And I wonder if I'll ever see them again. Bumpity dee da dee da dee dee, bumpity da 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 doo. Bumpity dee da dee da dee da, bumpity da 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 doo. Da 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 doo. Words to live by, words to poo. Dee 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 da 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 doo. Yeah, thanks CJ, thanks everybody. People do seem to respond well to that song. And, you know what's interesting about that song is I think I wrote it as a singing song first without even any guitar, and then figured out what the guitar was to it. Like, which is also how I wrote Wonderful, Wonderful Kitty. Which is another pretty NI song, really. Like, I want to play Wonderful, Wonderful Kitty. Now, granted, it's a totally different mood than that one. It's the exact kind of opposite mood, but it's another song that I wrote by singing it first and then figuring out what guitar goes under the thing I was singing, which is not a very common way for me to write songs. It's the least common way for me to write songs of the several that I do, right? Several ways that I write them. But I do think that the songs that I write just by singing tend to be a little more archetypal, because that's how I wrote Parker Tart Lemon Squeeze is another one that's like that I wrote singing at first. And also International Delight, which I don't play very often, but wonderful, wonderful kitty, having wonderful times. Always cleaning yourself, making sure you got clean lines. Wonderful, wonderful kitty, such a fabulous soft friend. And now it's wonderful kitty, bedding time again. Just let me pet you, don't walk away. It's petting time. Ooh, wonderful, wonderful kitty, having wonderful times. Always cleaning yourself, making sure you got clean lines. But your wonderful kitty is a fabulous mess I've never encountered before. And I know that I want to pet my kitty some more. Just let me pet you, don't walk away. It's petting time, hooray. Yeah, I also found Bob Dylan almost impossible to get into, although I can conceive of one of his songs being effectively used in a movie soundtrack or something, potentially, because it does have a lot of NI linkage to it because of the name Bob Dylan, his distinct voice, and what he sort of links to historically as a movement. But it's not a good movement, but it could be used as a good example of a bad movement, you know? I hope you have the time of your life. That's another good, I don't know what Bob Dylan is. I do know, I suspect he's an INFJ gone wrong, actually. Like, even though it doesn't, you might think, well, what about Bob Dylan is INFJ like? Well, the thing is, he kind of feels like he hooked into, he was right at the edge of the curve, but not too far out in front at the right moment. But that was it was a much smaller wave than he thought. Like, it turned out to be, he was on a little, like, side breaker, but he got elevated by the culture into this big thing. And then, he's struggled with the weight of that label ever since, knowing he was never really a genius to begin with, and now expected to be one, you know? That if he were going to pull the whole thing off, he'd need to have, like, you can see him trying to shift, right? Like, with the time, before the time, ahead of the time, trying to do, he's the guy who played electric for the first time at this folk festival or something. But of course, at that point, you're grasping, right? I'm gonna stay relevant by ancillary matters rather than the art itself. I mean, you can kind of feel the same thing happen with Lou Reed, right? Like, he leaves VU and he's stuck being Lou Reed, and he cuts a couple albums, but at that point he's starting to drift, right? He's drifting from a core vision and clarity about the moment in history and music in general in itself into referencing his own past mostly and trying to deviate from it or reconcile it with himself, and ending up as these albums where he has a couple of great songs as a single artist, but not many. So, for example, Perfect Day, Satellite of Love, Walk on the Wild Side. Those are good songs that he did when he was single career. Fading Intent says, Eric, you are so handsome and beardsome. Well, thank you, Fading Intent. You are so generous in your assessments. Nobody ever called me handsome before before I had a YouTube channel. It's amazing how having a YouTube channel can change people's perceptions about you. I don't think anybody ever dreamed of calling me handsome before I had a YouTube channel. But Satellite of Love is a fucking fantastic song. Satellite of Love, bum bum bum. Satellite of Love, bum bum bum. Satellite of Love, satellite of. Dun 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 dun, dun 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 dun. That's great. It's a great song. Really well put together. That's probably his best work as a solo artist. Although I think Perfect Day is fantastic as well. It's so perfectly what it is, and so destined to be in movies, commercials, and stuff that you almost go like, well, like what you were saying earlier, CJ. That's too common to be my favorite. because then I have to be both correct and cool, and that's too common to be cool. So I can't make Perfect Day my favorite one because that's what regular people like a lot, and I'm, too deep in being cool to like that. Unlike the LCD sound system guy, I'm not losing my edge. I get sharper every fucking day. That's how you wonder. One way you know Eminem is an ENTP too. He's aging so, like, comfortably. Like, yeah, I'm old now. I just get handsomer and flyer and chicks are more into me and whatever. You go for it. Who helped produce the album? Bowie's on that one? Oh, on Satellite of Love? But see, I don't think Bowie is as good at... I mean, I guess he might be a better producer than... But it's like... Bowie's got so much garbage for every good thing, right? And it's like, but when you say Bowie's hit and miss, his misses were wide afield of the target. But some of his hits are cool. Ziggy Stardust is a good song. Dun 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 dun. I mean, you can pick a couple of Bowie songs and enjoy them, but he's too self-indulgent. He was probably an ENFP, I think. But he might have been another, maybe an ENTP. I don't know, but regardless, if you don't have the right roadmap for making stuff, and you're a really map-driven type, then there's probably going to get something in the way of you successfully pulling it off. Like, look at Fiona Apple, right? Some of her earlier shit, like that one album with Criminal and Paper Bag on it, that was a fucking kick-ass. That was so, like, game-changing when it came out. I remember when that album came out and I put it on, I was like, oh my god. This is so much better than everything else that's coming out right now. And then, but her newest album is designed to trick people into thinking it's good without actually being good. In other words, she's inning every instance where she needs to NI, and it's just it's an awful disaster of having the wrong map, implementing the wrong map, and fucking everything up. Well, CJ, that's why you periodically have to have completely irrationally disproportionate negative responses to things that really don't bug you that much. Like, oh my god, I can't believe anybody would like that horrible cancer upon the aesthetic field. It destroys lives every day by simply existing. What are you talking about? Oh, this song I heard the other day. Does it really do all those things though, Eric? Yes, it does. Literally. Okay? And I don't mean figuratively when I say literally. I mean literally. It kills everybody. David Bowie. Why don't you just stop putting on makeup and wearing a bunch of sparkly shit and focus on making good music, you know? Seems straightforward enough, right? If you put that much energy into your costumes and shit, you are not focusing on the right thing, obviously. You know, it's one of the worst things ever in the history of the world that does literally make everybody vomit blood for hours on end? Ebony and Ivory by Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson. Terrible, terrible idea from the get-go. Bad concept, bad execution, just bad idea. Let's not do that horrible song. Ebony and Ivory is even worse than White Nights, that 1980s fantastic film featuring Gregory Hines and Mikhail Baryshnikov. And a Cold War story that'll blow your socks off with its tap dancing, its ballet dancing, and its combination of tap and ballet dancing. Right, we get it, David. You're like 20 different characters. Similarly true with Zappa, right? Okay, stop focusing on how weird you are and be good instead. Okay? Did Gilbert Gottfried have the interview? I don't know. Maybe, probably, possibly. It's not impossible to conceive. I was like, okay, do something else, though. Don't just do that one thing. But yeah, rest in peace, Gilbert Gottfried. Rest in peace, Norm Macdonald as well, who had some really great jokes. Although, well, look, the only Zappa song that I can even sing, I can't even sing it from listening to it. I can just sing it from hearing somebody else, from having somebody else in my life who would sing it, which is this little chunk of a Zappa song that goes, "Don't fool yourself, girl, it's going right up your poop chute." Okay, so that's a little bit of genius right there, but you can't make a whole meal out of shit like that. And even if you want to have a lot of shit like that, you have to have some meat and potatoes too, or else it's like you're just eating like cotton candy with like weird fish oil in it or something. Nowhere man. He's a real nowhere man, living in his nowhere land, making all his nowhere plans for nobody. Nowhere man, please listen, and you see my penis glisten in the sunlight from the wettening of your mouth. Those were the original lyrics, but I guess it was Paul convinced Ringo to change them, maybe? Or was it John convinced George to convince Ringo to convince Paul to change them, maybe? It's one of those. Yeah. I love the way my penis glistens in the sunlight when I remove it from your hole. It's a compliment every woman enjoys hearing. Thanks? Oh dear. You are wonderful. Don't you just love the way my penis glistens in the sunlight when I pull it from your hole? Yes? I do. Look at its sheen. Look at it shine with its sheen, with its glossy sheen. Yeah, that's my vaginal fluid. Oh, but not every vaginal fluid's nearly as shiny as this one. It's like I've taken my penis to the waxing salon. Okay. You know what, I'm not really in the mood to continue this activity now. Oh, of course not. We want to stand here and stare at my glistening dong. We wouldn't want to put it back inside now that it's so bright and shiny. You haven't really peeped it. You can't peep with your ears, CJ. You can't peep with your ears, okay? If you went to a classic adult-themed peep show and there were only sounds to listen to, you'd feel cheated. You'd feel cheated of your quarters. And you'd be right to feel cheated. Because peeping promises things for the eye. Unless you're talking about the kind of peeping that involves eating a lot of peeps around Easter time, which is another form of peeping. That's the planking form of peeping. I think that is a thing, right? Like, to see how many peeps you can fit in your mouth. That's a thing. That's a contest. It's one of those things that local news outlets do a story on, in which they say, alarming new trend among kids. Are kids dying because of peer pressure to peep? There's some story about them eating peeps, you know. Jacqueline Smithington was a thriving, beautiful, intelligent middle schooler until one day she participated in peeping with some friends outside of school. And then they show her like on a ventilator in the hospital, all like brain damage and stuff. People don't understand how risky it can be to peep. Like grieving mother who just can't continue. And they have an expert. Well, what we're seeing is an increasing number of peeping-related incidents arriving at local hospitals. Apparently, it seems like, maybe because I'm not actually giving you any information or anything, but it seems that way to me. Of course, if you don't see the news reports, and you go into the store one day and you're like, why do I need to show my ID to buy peeps? I doubt he's just praying. He's probably going around and like reporting all my videos and thumbs down or something. I've had a rash of thumbs downs the last couple of days. And there's been a suggestion that perhaps there's some indications, a couple of things that could be indications of somebody like rampantly just going through and reporting me with different accounts or something like that. Like, I'm not sure what happened to my capacity to get any Mindy's Club shorts on the shorts feed. Seems to have just disappeared all of a sudden. So, but who knows? You never know what's going on with YouTube as to why things happen, really. They're not particularly transparent, obviously. It's always kind of a mystery. Okay, is this something I'm doing? Something totally unrelated to anything related to me? Or something that my spite monkeys are doing? Or not related to that? Or you just never know. Because YouTube's always changing, always evolving its ways. And sometimes, like, whatever minor change they're making to the algorithm, they have have an outside impact on you for whatever reason. You know, it's impossible to say. They never talk about. Right? Eclipse Squall, I cannot figure out any rhyme or reason to it either. Some of the ones that I think are good and expect to do well, but then some of them I think are good don't, you know? Oh yeah, self-help lines. This is not a new rodeo for me, okay? I've been through this many times. Probably somebody who's got accountability avoidance disorder is my guess. You know, to persist through in carrying out and converting spite into action, definitionally, because it's spite, it's putting in your own time, resources, and effort into harming somebody else for exclusively for the purpose of that making you feel good. So, right, and some of the popular ones are good, so it's hard to say. And you know what's interesting in Eucalyptus Koala is because Mindy's Club is what it is. I continually edit. I'm on an ongoing process of editing. So as I come to the same conclusion about some of the ones that aren't, at least the ones that aren't successful. I don't want to like lose 3,000 views by deleting a video, but the ones that they come to make me cringe a little bit, I'll end up deleting them. The issue is for me about those things is when I'm happy with it, it needs to be well edited, and that's something that I'm still on my growth curve on, like learning how to edit properly shorts in the shorts app, like on the phone, and because it's the timings of it are so tricky. Well, Eucalyptus Koala, unfortunately, the only thing that seems to be something of a correlate in as far as stuff that's more or less successful is that stuff with the girls in it seems to do better than stuff with the guys in it. So it's the only kind of pattern that seems to be there. Guy Suit is cool. I like him. I like Corduroy too, but they like the Sanes ones. Some of those wisdoms I thought they make good for good shorts. It's like they're kind of tailor-made to shorts. They're one-offs. They're a little sane, whatever. But they didn't actually do very well. But I don't know what that means, you know? If I were to ask that question, what does this mean? Point to an object like this. How will you answer the question? What does this mean? And what does the meaning mean for what is next? I think they'd probably say, this means that you aren't healthy, and what's next is you die of lung cancer. Well, okay. Backstories are decreasingly important the more front story there is, right? So there's a fair amount of front story. There is a backstory to the whole thing that I've been thinking about doing some. It's such a complicated thing to even think about because I'm dealing with a medium that's supposed to be one-off. And yet I'm telling ultimately this huge story with it, right? Because I did that already. I did it. There's a multiple playlist called Story Arcs 1 that has the ones that are arced first, like beginning to end of the story arc as distinct playlists so you can watch them that way. I did that yesterday. Now, the second multiple playlist section that includes the other 3 story arc ones, for some reason, I can't get it to show up on it's like there's something wrong with one of the playlists or something. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with it, but I keep trying to customize the channel and get that they have a second chunk of 3 of those things. I can't get it to show up on the properly. So it's like it's got 3 playlists in it, one of which is Corduroy and Corduroy's Ambition. That's the only one of the 3 that'll show up in the section. So I gotta figure out that. But yeah, I did all the story arcs. I did the whole thing yesterday. Everything has now a category, and that's above the characters. So originally what I did was I organized them all into playlists of this character, that character, the other character. But what I realized is that that's not what I'm making here exactly. And so, as I indicated the other day, I wanted to section out playlist out the arcs so you can watch them as distinct little story arcs. And this opens up for me the idea of people mostly engaging with the channel via the channel, but that's the opposite of what you expect to happen with shorts. So once again, Eric is trying to hybridize something that YouTube wants to be used in a certain way to do a multiplicity of things, and that probably doesn't serve him well when it comes to just exceeding under YouTube's metrics. But yeah, the bottom line is, CJ, Mindy's Club is a reality show that was put together when a bunch of, or a cabal of Texas businessmen who were really rich bought an underground, a massive underground Cold War era nuclear bunker that had been set up to be like a city, a regular American city, but underground with like fake sunlight and everything. And then in secret, in collusion with Mindy, but and with Guy Suit, but not with any of the other characters, they planned to have this reality show. And all of the other characters were cast as though for a regular reality show, but in reality they were cast because nobody would notice they had gone missing. They were seen as people that they could successfully basically kidnap without them knowing they'd been kidnapped, and keep in this massive underground area as part of Mindy's reality show. Mindy's in on it with the producing team, and so is Guy Suit, but nobody else is. Well, Guy Suit does have a big role. I mean, the thing is, he has a big role in my head. That's what I should say. He has a big role. Well, he is the male lead, really. You know, everybody's coupling up, basically. So Perry and Tiffany are together now, and Tiffany will prove to be a remarkably good and loyal and girlfriend for all of her incredible stupidity. That's one of the angles of sort of like growth, not of the character, but of the audience's understanding of the character, which is like, I guess, the new way to do character growth. I should do your poll thing, but anyway, Tiffany's with Perry, and Kevin doesn't have a girlfriend because he's homosexual, but he's the only gay person there. So, and everybody thinks he's a horse. Sasquatch isn't getting with anybody, but he might someday. I don't know. He hasn't got with anybody yet. But right now, like, Kendi is you want a character with the wit of Dr. House, but he works at a gas station and talks about his job. I like the concept for a character a lot, actually. Somebody who talks incredibly verbosely about something very mundane, like working at the gas station. Needless to say, I was quite alarmed when I saw the two gentlemen enter into the convenience store portion of the gas station here, and I hurried and shuffled myself behind the bulletproof glass, but it turned out my initial alarm was unfounded, as the two were merely in Halloween costumes, dressed as criminals, hence the striped suit a la the Hamburglar, and not actually escaped from the local prison. Isn't that remarkable? Yeah. So, I was changing the water, and I took out the squeegee and I said, "This filthy, filthy squeegee disgusts me. Something must be done about it." Oh, sure, I shook it, and the water droplets flew from it like filthy little animals scurrying away from a fire. That's a good guy. That's a good character self-help last. Maybe I'll cop that. Now we do have another fancy character who's coming into the mix here, which is Lady Godiva. The Lady Godiva. It turns out that when Brandon purchased his grow a girlfriend from a shady dark web purveyor of illegal goods, what he had really purchased was Lady Godiva, who'd accidentally been frozen in an iceberg. That's why you never hear about what happened after she was riding the horse naked. It turned out she rode the horse while naked out onto a glacier where she missed a crevasse, and she and the horse fell into the crevasse. And while they were able to retrieve her and preserve her and stasis preserving shrink wrap, her horse sadly didn't make it. And so once Brandon grows her, he's trying to grow a stupid girlfriend, but it turns out it's Lady Godiva, and she's really snotty and fixated about needing a horse, of course, because one of the things she says is, "Only peasants walk naked." And she does have a point there, I guess. But Brandon has grown her to be his dumb girlfriend so he can get more airtime on the reality show. Because every few days, the various participants in the show gather into the living room of their shared compound of houses and stuff, and they watch the episodes from the week, and it can be assumed, it's sort of implied, I guess, by reality, that for every one of those clips from the reality show that made it onto the show, a lot of stuff ended up on the editing room floor. Presumably there's many hours of Brandon interacting that just get cut and not included in anything. And Brandon's feeling pretty frustrated about that, Now, who's naturally going to try to take advantage of that frustration? Well, it's Kendi, the evil Mindy, as she's sometimes known. Although, it does eventually turn out that she's right to be suspicious about Mindy. That Mindy is in on this whole thing. And that Mindy's kind of a sociopath. Whereas Tiffany's actually a hero to the people for all of her incredible stupidity. Now, it is the case that I felt pretty satisfied when I learned from Tiffany yesterday, that if I don't feed my butthole sun particles, it could get scurvy. And I had not known that. I also didn't know that what she informed Perry, "You're green. That's just chloroform. And fish like y'all need chloroform to breathe underwater. So you're gonna have to feed your butthole some particles." So now that's some good advice. It's not really clear where the chocolate comes into play here with the Godiva lady story. I'm not sure, is there a linkage there? Is the Lady Godiva who rode around naked on a horse related to the same Godivas who made the chocolate factory? Anyway, but Kendi, although she's correct ultimately, she also is not afraid to kind of use people to get what she's trying to accomplish, and so she gets Brandon to get dirt on Mindy, which he will bring to Kendi in the very upcoming storyline. And she will fulfill her end of the bargain, march right into Guy Suit's office, and declare that she's Brandon's girlfriend as per the agreement, because Brandon won't give her the files until she does so. But then, of course, as they leave the office, once they're gone out of the office, she says, "Oh, Brandon, it's been such a whirlwind, this new relationship of ours." And he's like, "Don't you think it's time for us to take it to the next level?" Brandon, This is the hardest part of any relationship. We need to talk. I don't think this is working out. Well, we've only been girlfriend and boyfriend for 5 minutes. Anyway, she breaks up with him. That's when he resorts to the Lady Godiva thing. But he doesn't know it's Lady Godiva. He thinks it's just some girl or girlfriend. He didn't realize he was reviving the Lady Godiva. And instead of being a dumb girlfriend for him, she treats him like a serving scum is what she calls him. Serving scum. And not wanting to just have his entire investment go to waste, he sort of accepts and relents that he's going to have to just kind of respond to that if he's going to deal with her at all. So before he knows it, of course, instead of having a dumb girlfriend, he's now basically the serving scum of Lady Godiva. Whereas Brandon will eventually fight back against this, you know. He'll have his "that's it" moment. And he'll have his redemption too, as though some girl will end up loving him anyway, you know, for real, and then he'll have some growth or something, you know. I don't know exactly what's going to happen with that, but you know, it may turn out that eventually it's possible. I don't know. I'm not committing to anything, certainly. This isn't canon, but I could see Sasquatch hitting Duck Girl, maybe. Quack. Why do I have to get with the Sasquatch? Shut up, Duck Girl. Just be happy you're getting love, okay? Tiffany's was a fish man, so get over yourself. Hi, Fishman. My name's Perry, Tiffany. Godiva Chocolates is owned by the Draft family, and they did name their chocolate after the 11th century legend. What do you know? So it turns out they named their chocolates that because when people think of their chocolates, they want you to also think of a naked lady on a horse. It makes your chocolates a lot more appealing. It's good if a character is genuinely suffering in a good-natured way, but then there's some greedy character like Starscream from Transformers just getting upset over lesser things in a bigger way. Well, nobody's really getting upset without good cause in this. In fact, everybody's getting kind of too little upset about what's being done to them. So, Randall is just a regular guy who happens to look a lot like Godzilla, okay? But he's just a regular person like you and me. He just has kind of a weird... He came out looking kind of different. He looks like a Godzilla. And he's rather tall, you know. He's got a long tail and spiky things on his back. But the point is, he's still just a regular guy named Randall. But since he's joined this reality show, he's been relegated to living in a stable, and everybody calls him Kevin, and apparently thinks he's a horse because, you know, once Mindy goes along with what Tiffany's saying, everybody else just seems to go along with it, you know. This is why they picked these people for the show. They're not the brightest tools in the shed, but some of them have more of a good heart than others, you know. Like, Devin's very good-hearted, but he's also, like, kind of Effie polar in an Effie Dom way. Like, he's got this one trick that he does that he keeps wanting to show everybody, but and he's always super positive about everything, but he doesn't really have much of anything to offer, and he got lost. It's a White Dolphin Boy as a fox. I mean, the point is, Tiffany names everyone and everything wrong except Mindy. She calls Perry Fishman. She calls Sasquatch Squash Cat. She there's an episode where she explains to Kevin that he's a horse and that the horse that he's brought to show Tiffany what a horse looks like is actually a yellow squirrel. She calls Mr. Soup Mr. Soup, and she calls. I don't think she's called Kendi anything yet, but so what happens is, in my vision, in that scene, Winston's mom, because I don't know why it came out like that. I was just playing, so I set him up there. The fox looks so good in this like sort of natural setting because we have the rock store where there's like deserty stuff, to take pictures with, and then I just imagined Tiffany like crawling up the rock from behind, all super hungover, and I just started doing Tiffany, right? Like, oh my God, no, dolphin boy, carry me to shore. I don't know why I said that. Who knows why? It just what came out, and it's like if somebody got everything wrong, right? And somebody gets everything wrong, like with Perry when she says, "You're green," that suggests chloroform. And fish need chloroform to breathe underwater. It's just getting everything wrong. And then saying, and that's why you need sun particles. The key quality about Tiffany that I find makes her so appealing and lovable, and that I like to make happen is, it's like, okay, she's got this quality of, it's like she finds like these things or whatever on the ground or something. and she'll rush over to Mindy or whatever everybody else go like, "Oh my God, wait a second, hold everything. You've got to look at this. Look at this." Oh, those are nice, Tiffany. They sure are nice. Oh my God, it's like, what is this? She's got this kind of reverent archaeologist thing going on, but about things that are incredibly dumb. This sense like a reverent archaeologist who's dug up a great treasure, but it's just like, well, what is that though, Tiffany? I have no idea, but I'm gonna eat it now. Whatever it is she's talking about is very important, Hold on a second. Everybody stop everything. Hold on a second. Wait a minute. No more shoulder rise. I like her use of idiom, such as, "Freshman, you are the worst." Like, who says, like, "you are the worst"? Nobody says that. So it makes it funny for me when she says things like like that, or, "You sure do have a name. I'll say." "You can say that again." Things like that, I like those kind of ridiculous little sayings that don't mean anything. Just sort of expresses her. I'm glad you're with me here. This drunken insanity that I'm into, Oh, that's right. Tiffany. Yeah, okay. Hold on a second. Wait a second. Okay. Yeah, Tiffany's one of my favorite people in my life. I'm very fond of her. Okay, I'm gonna split. I'm going to BREAD because I got a typing session like 8 in the morning or something, or like 5 hours, 6 hours or something. So, okay, goodbye. Thank you, Winston's mom, for still being here. Nice chatting with you. You know, it's been great. I love chatting with all you guys. Been a wonderful evening. Don't forget to smear bees on your penis.